with unlimited data and X-Fi Complete for $55 a month for 2 years with no annual contract. And a free 4K streaming box included. Plus, now through December 5th, get HBO Max included for a year.
Drop everything and get to the Xfinity Black Friday sale. Go to Xfinity.com to learn more. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Ad-supported plan of HBO Max. After promo, regular rates apply to all services and devices.
Where'd you get that grin? Right above your chin.
I love fall, and I love the taste of s'mores around a campfire. So this season, I made them into our new Andy's Frozen Custard S'mores Jackhammer. It's fresh vanilla frozen custard blended with chocolatey hot fudge, crunchy graham cracker, and fluffy marshmallow. Roasty, toasty good.
With a smile at Andy's, top your day. With a smile at Andy's, top your day.
Join Union Broadcasting in thanking local companies that care. Companies That Care is an effort to let you know about local companies giving back to our community.
Hi, my name is Cernan Macon, head football coach for FL Schlegel High School. Football is the ultimate team sport, and it takes dedication and commitment to be successful. With the financial help from the D. Pasquale Moore Law Firm, the future of Schlegel football has been accelerated. Thank you, Mike and Stephanie, and the entire staff at D. Pasquale Moore for being a company that cares. Go Stallions.
Join the best in banking when you open your account with Central Bank. We're rooted in legendary customer service and have the tools to make banking easy. Our award-winning mobile app has more than 30,000 reviews and a 4.9 star rating. Experience it for yourself and see why our customers love it. We can't wait to show you how awesome it is to bank with us. Get started by visiting centralbank.net/betterbanking. Central Bank, strong roots, endless possibilities. Member FDIC.
Chiefs fans, this is the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show, presented by CBD American Shaman. Life is better with the feather.
In the Patrick Mahomes era for the Kansas City Chiefs, nobody, AFC, NFC, certainly AFC West, rest of the conference, nobody has been able to make a legitimate argument, not only that they haven't been better than the Chiefs, no one's really been close to that, but really no one's even been able to make an argument that they belong with the Chiefs as peers in the modern NFL. Last year, it began to seem like there was a team working on a counter argument to that, but a victory by the Cincinnati Bengals in last year's regular season didn't really prove anything. You know, that team could beat the Chiefs, but what happens if you meet up with Kansas City in January? Then January comes around. I'll save us all the trouble of relitigating last year's AFC Championship game. We did that plenty this week, and I'm sure it'll happen again the next time these two teams meet, which could be coming up this January. But they met in January, and once again, the Cincinnati Bengals got the best of the Kansas City Chiefs, ending their season in a way that was unendingly frustrating, not just to fans, but to the team. I can say that completely definitively, not just because of what all of the guys said after the game last year, over the course of the offseason, but also because of what happened this week. Justin Reid just got to Kansas City this offseason, and he said, leading up to this game, that the Chiefs had the Bills, Titans, and Bengals, most of all the Bengals, circled on the schedule this season. He wasn't even here for what happened last year, and he knew this game had something special. And then he talked about clamping up Hayden Hurst, who ended up leaving this game with an injury pretty early on, and everybody else got their fair share in the Bengals passing game. It wasn't just Justin Reid, though, and frankly, I don't know that Justin Reid was amongst the worst performers in this game. He just, there's some headlines came out of that Andy Reid we knew on Friday, made it very clear he was not happy with the storyline that came out of Justin Reid looking to lock everybody up. I don't mind a little trash talk leading up to a game. I do not think the result of this game changes at all based on bulletin board material. These two teams were treating this game like a playoff game. And as we sit here now, and I know it's frustrating if you're a Chiefs fan, because you were on the wrong side of this If you're like me, your entire life as a sports fan before the Patrick Mahomes era. Then Mahomes got here, and it never happened again, where the Chiefs were always, for these last several years, once they vanquished Tom Brady's Patriots, it became evident that they were the new team, not just in the conference, but really in all of football, that everyone else would use as their regular season Super Bowl, their we got a target on their back type of game. And right now, for the first time since Patrick Mahomes got to Kansas City, or at the very least, since the first time they made it to their Super Bowl that they won over the San Francisco 49ers, for the first time right now, back-to-back-to-back no less, the Chiefs have been bettered by another team. And I think that there was some amount of a feeling that they shouldn't have, particularly in the AFC Championship game. The Chiefs played some really bad football. They certainly weren't putting out their best effort, which is frustrating to then have to sit in that the entire offseason, knowing that the last thing people saw you do on a football field was not your best football. But that put all the more emphasis on this game today because the Chiefs, to some extent, were looking for redemption. Now, look, leading up to the Bills game in the regular season, I've said leading up to that game, you can't get postseason redemption in a regular season rematch. That's not how the scale works. But the Chiefs, which they so rarely do, the Chiefs let you know this week that they really cared about this game on a different level. They always care about every game. I don't think they get trapped in trap games or overlooked teams. It's the NFL, and these guys are professionals. But this game had a little extra something to it, for both sides, I'm sure. With a little extra something in the mix for this game, that's what they brought out for it. And really, man, I am frustrated on pretty much all angles. I think I have just about every position group, perhaps, I could point to and have some turning point of massive frustration. Because there are plenty of guys who did enough in this game. But ultimately, nobody, couple potential exceptions, but virtually, if not literally, nobody on the Chiefs did enough to make up for other people's misses or for simply great moments of execution and imagination and aliens catching the ball for the Bengals. The Chiefs had a few guys play pretty good football today that might have gotten them the win against a lesser team. Patrick Mahomes was good in this game, but then on 4th and short later on, he could have dumped that ball off to Derrick McKinnon instead of the shoestring sack, and that drive stays alive there. It was on the backside of the play. He clearly started right and was working left, but even watching it live, before I went back and saw the replay again, he at some point at least, his face mask faced Derrick McKinnon. And if he goes there decisively in that moment, I don't even know that for sure that's where his eyes were, but his head turned that way. That pass might have been what it would have taken for the Mahomes magic of it all to be enough to win in these circumstances. The running backs had a great day. And frankly, the offensive line in run blocking had a very good day. The Chiefs are running the ball consistently, effectively, both with Isaiah Pacheco and Derrick McKinnon. The running game looked good. So the offensive line didn't have a terrible day, right? Well, they did enough to meet a certain head above water level. But when the water levels rise, they didn't do enough for that new standard. Does that make sense? The Chiefs did enough today to beat a worse team. They did not do enough today to beat a really good football team that they've been preparing for on some level since last January. So the O-line has a good day on the ground, and then in pass blocking, Orlando Brown Jr. gets run around a couple of times. Andrew Wiley, as he will do because of just sort of his caliber of play, loses a few times in some impactful moments. You got Nick Allegretti at left guard, Joe Thuney out again, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith in the middle, alongside the rest of those guys. Defensively, there are plenty of people we'll begin to point the finger at. We'll take all your calls here in just a second. We'll start hearing pressers live from Cincy. But defensively, this might be kind of counterintuitive, I don't want to blame the cornerbacks almost at all. For the most part, Trent McDuffie, rookie in game 6, something for him now, after missing a bunch of time with the injury. Rookie Trent McDuffie, rookie Joshua Williams, rookie Jalen Watson, whatever his extent of his snap count's going to be. I didn't see a ton of him, but Williams obviously was out there a ton, along with L'Jarius Sneed. The corners had an incredibly difficult assignment because that's what the Bengals do. They've invested in that position very well. They got Jamar Chase, an alien at the top of the draft. They got T. Higgins shortly after the Chiefs wasted their first-round pick in that year's draft. Higgins went right after. Higgins and Michael Pittman. And the Chiefs drafted a player who plays a position where they have at least 2 better running backs who are currently playing. Just shouldn't have made that pick at the time. That was obvious. But the Bengals make themselves an incredible matchup problem, even after they lose their tight end, who was totally going to get locked down entering this game. No question. No doubt in my mind. None whatsoever. Just in case sarcasm doesn't always travel over the radio, that's what that was. But you have a defensive line that, while I will continue to stand here and pound the table to remind you that Chris Jones is one of the most dominant defensive players in the NFL, that is 100% as true right now as it was 3 hours ago. But today would have been a really awesome time for Chris Jones to put an exclamation point on his Defensive Player of the Year campaign, and he did not do that today. The Bengals were absolutely keying in everything they did on Chris Jones because he's the only legitimate, consistent force on that defensive line. But this year and other times, clutch moments down the stretch, he has found a way, either by being moved to the edge, or Spags kicks him out there to get a one-on-one, or by just beating what's in front of him in the middle. He has found a way to be dominant plus. In this game, the Bengals played him plenty of attention, and he didn't do anything special. He played well enough to beat a worse team, and not well enough when the water level rises. Water level rose because the Bengals are a good team who can do that. Nobody else in that defensive line consistently gets pressure. It's silly to pretend anything otherwise. You will find each of those guys who can individually make a splash every once in a while. That's totally true. But we're talking about NFL players here. It's the same reason Kirk Cousins can look really good for games at a time, or why literally any quarterback in football can look good for 60 minutes. Because everyone at the NFL level would have been the best player in the history of your high school and maybe the best player in the history of your college, depending on where you went. At the NFL level, the skill and overall execution across the board is unreal. Nathan Peterman would cook you in a little flag football in a way you would never physically or mentally recover from. But the NFL is about what you can do consistently, time after time after time again. Chiefs' defensive line has one guy who is a consistent force, and he did not make enough of an impact on this game to earn much more than the benefit of the doubt there. George Karlaftis could be there eventually. He had a couple of nice plays today, but that is not the same thing as a consistent pass rushing force. Frank Clark has some burst, questionable coming into this game with an illness. He's a good player who can do some good things and sets the edge, and nice player, 5'5". Not a consistent pass rushing force. Colin Saunders having a career year, can have some big moments. Not a consistent pass rushing force. And to be fair, most teams don't have a lot of those guys. But the Chiefs multiple times have told you that they want to have 2 of them. They've got Chris Jones. They traded for Frank Clark. That didn't work. They drafted George Karlaftis. We'll see what happens with Karlaftis. We'll see what happens with Chris Jones this offseason. But they've got all of this youth at their cornerback position. That has to allow you to invest more in your defensive line. That's how they've built this team. I'm okay with that because they've gotten great production out of their young cornerbacks. Guys like L'Jarius Sneed in the 4th round. Rashad Fenton, who I wouldn't have minded just seeing if he had anything for this offense today. Wouldn't have minded sitting him out there. They drafted him in the 6th and sent him back out for a conditional nothing, basically. But I don't mind that strategy, but you've got to get it right, and they haven't in the pass rush. Then the linebackers. We'll start taking calls after this. The safety play also is not very good today. Juan Thornhill isn't going to be the guy that takes down Jamar Chase one-on-one very often. I like Juan Thornhill. I think, frankly, he's probably a better player than he has generally gotten credit for in Kansas City. And also, just eye test, I feel like 90% of his tackle attempts are arms at his side, diving horizontal, perpendicular, or parallel to the ground, diving at someone's feet. And it doesn't seem like the success rate of those hits is terribly high. But look, if your safeties are making every tackle, to say nothing of the Jamar Chase first down conversion, that was all defensive backs over there. It was 4-on-2. You've got to do something there. We've gotten a lot of hype around Nick Bolton this year. Did you see him today? Were you watching for him today? Nick Bolton's a fine player. He was lunch in coverage. And frequently, 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards downfield, then the running back gets to him. He would give Samaje Perine a hug. They'd fall back another couple of yards, and all of a sudden, a 7-yard gain has come out of a run that you would have at least thought could have potentially been brought down for 2 or 3. Maybe you meet him in the hole, and you get a collision right there. Willie Gay, who is an athletic menace, and I also feel like I have been historically very high on, I don't notice him near the football often enough for a guy with the speed that he has. And like Darius Harris was out there some too. That snap count distribution's never made a lot of sense. But like, this is not, for me at least, I'll let you guys all speak for yourself, but this is not going to be a what was Spags doing type of day. None of the blitzes were very productive. Frequently, linebackers totally lost in the mess. Best defensive looks of the day were when the Chiefs only rushed 3 and then dropped their linebackers into a little shallow zone and let the DBs try to handle themselves against a great receiving core. But I can't sit here and be like, oh, Steve Spagnuolo wasn't ready. 27 points might not even be the worst part of all of this. But whenever your guys won't tackle or can't tackle or whatever it may be, and specifically when everything, it felt constantly through this game like the Chiefs defense was deciding what they were going to allow to happen to them and then see what they would do. I felt like they were playing on their heels, if not literally, metaphorically. Stuff was being run at the Chiefs defense, and the Bengals defensive line was running at Patrick Mahomes. Nothing was easy on offense aside from the running game, which certainly the Chiefs could have run a little more often. Oh, and I shouldn't have to say this. Chiefs were 2 for 2 on 4th down conversion attempts today. Obviously, those were huge plays that the 4th and 4, whatever it was, from midfield that kept the drive alive, turned into 7 points. Big play. Early in the game, they settled for the short field goal. Those 4 points. Hey, let me look at the scoreboard real quick. Those 4 points might have mattered. 4 more points from the beginning of the game might have mattered. Oh, but what if they don't get the field goal? Who cares? That early in the game, against a team that you know can hit you back, the Chiefs take a 26-yard field goal on 4th and 4 from the 8 because you'll take your 3 points there after throwing the ball on 2nd down, throwing the ball on 3rd down, kicking the field goal after that, despite just running the ball down the field to get into that position. Much less the fourth down. Yes, Patrick Mahomes can't take that sack. Yes, he came up gimpy. I've seen Patrick Mahomes make plays with a bum wheel before. Andy Reid decided that he trusted Harrison Butker to kick a 55-yard field goal more than he trusted Patrick Mahomes to pick up, 7 yards, 8 yards? You're picking between two crummy options there, in part because your offense has not been productive enough to this point. Maybe you could have been more aggressive earlier on and had the numbers in your favor. But if you say I'd rather have Butker out there to try to kick a 55-yard prayer, hey, and low snap, not a great hold. The whole unit has to get together on that one. I trust my special teams unit to kick me a 55-yard field goal more than I trust my quarterback, the MVP of the league, whose Michael Jordan Space Jam dunk of a touchdown is now going to get wiped away justifiably by what the rest of the team put up here. You're going to tell me you'd rather see Harrison Butker jogging back out there in that situation than you would for Patrick Mahomes to jog out there, to limp out there, to take a long snap himself and to throw the ball without moving his feet. I would like to see the offense run the offense significantly more than I'd rather see Butker come out and just try a prayer. It's so disappointing. It's so frustrating. The Chiefs came into this game with an energy that they never matched over the course of the 60 minutes that we all just watched. They coached on their heels. They sure as hell tackled on their heels. The offense was difficult. It was labored, except for when they ran the ball. Travis Kelce must have been getting his ass beat in that first half, because that's usually what it looks like when he's not getting targeted, is that they're just defensive backs taking their helmets off and just whamming Travis Kelce in the head over the course of his route. But Kelce wasn't easy. MVS had a couple of great plays with a real bad one or two in there. Rustin Dodd of The Athletic tweeted that basically he's a home run hitter who hits 30 bombs a year and strikes out 225 times. I like that analogy for MVS. But Marquez Valdes-Scantling could have been a hero of this game. Patrick Mahomes could have had the highlights of this game highlighted. And instead, we're going to sit here and talk about a defense that wasn't tackling. The middle of that defense was either living on their heels or bouncing off on the first hit. And an offense that never had an opportunity to just sort of put it into cruise control. The closest they got might have been 2 consecutive handoffs and feeling like, hey, you know what, this offense is really humming here. And then something else would go wrong. With the exception of, I'll say, probably Pacheco and McKinnon, I just think everybody here gets a little bit of credit for this game being a close one and a little bit of blame for not being good enough, which is really unsatisfying if you've been sitting on this game for 11 months waiting for the rematch. But that's where the Chiefs have landed themselves. There is a team in the NFL that's run it over them 3 times. And there are very few people in this game who played a good enough game to beat the Bengals in a rematch again in another month or so. It's a frustrating effort because it certainly, maybe for the first time, it looks like a win where one team was better than the other one. Today the Bengals were. I have no issue saying that outright. Bengals were better today. And it wasn't all the self-inflicted wounds of the AFC Championship game, but it was some of them. And we'll see if maybe somebody will eventually prove me wrong. But I'm guessing most of you who have criticisms to levy against somebody as a part of this game is probably going to have some validity to it, because nobody put out a perfect game-taking effort here. Not on the Chiefs, anyway. Those guys were all wearing orange, unfortunately, and that's your end result. Bengals 27, Chiefs 24. That was all going to be kind of the intro, and then I talked for 20 minutes, so you can tell that I'm actually bothered by this game. It is the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. My name is Joshua Brisco. Thanks for being with us here through a show that's probably going to be frustrating because I'm going to just continue ruffling up the feathers that we all had ruffled for the last few hours. Beards McFly on the other side of the glass. Dylan Michaels doing production as well. It's all brought to you by CBD American Shaman. Free CBD samples every day. We'll go to the phones here and then begin hearing pressers from Cincinnati. We open it up with Travis. Travis, you're on Sports Radio 810. What's up, Trav?
So, for me, this is the most frustrating game that I can remember in a very long time. A couple things. The field goal, I don't understand it. And separate from the point you already made, I agree with you. Why not just let Mahomes do it? But what did he think was going to happen if he made it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did he think that Burrow wasn't going to drive right back down the field and kick a winning field goal with 4 seconds left? I mean, I don't understand the thought process that goes through that. The defense had showed no life the entire game. Why did he think the defense was going to all of a sudden ball up and get a stop there? I don't get it. I would have put the game in 15's hands, hurt or not, and let him figure it out. The second thing that I want to bring out is I think that the Bengals are just a bad match for Spagnuolo. This is the third game, and every game has looked exactly the same with this team. They didn't tackle in any of the games. People running wide open, no pressure. This is in my opinion, Spagnuolo fundamentally just can't figure this out what to do with this team. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You stick your landing.
And then the final thing that I want to bring out is this team just came out. They were flat.
Yes.
Like you said, this whole team was flat from the beginning. And I know that everybody's like, oh, well, if Kelsey doesn't fumble the ball, you know what? We all love it when Kelsey fights for 5 extra yards. I'm not going to ding the man. He's the greatest tight end to ever play football. Like, stuff happens. But you got to also remember, we're one Carlos Dunlap play away from that not even mattering.
Yep.
Because if they get that first down, they're scoring there. And we're not talking about the Chiefs with a chance to throw up an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter. We're talking about them trying to come from behind. So, this game was ugly from the beginning, and they're kryptonite, man. They're kryptonite. So that's all I got, guys.
Travis, I appreciate it. I think, first of all, a stupendous point on the field goal. The Chiefs attempted the Harrison Butker 55-yard field goal. They attempted that with 3 minutes and 24 seconds left on the clock. So it would have been a tie game with the ball going to the Bengals with 3.5 minutes. I don't even remember how many timeouts they would have had. I don't remember if they used any timeouts later than that. I'm not sure. The Bengals would have had the ball back with 3.5 minutes needing a field goal. That is basically no better. A great point, Travis. I appreciate it. Also, yes, the fact that we can always say, oh, but they were just one play away from whatever the thing is. And to Travis's point, they're one Carlos Dunlap play away from this game feeling over at halftime. That momentum was great, but not sufficient to carry you any further. But this wasn't the Chiefs one play away. The Chiefs got a play or two of their own. We go, oh wow, they got lucky there. They made that happen there. There's no one that's maybe the frustrating thing. There's no one individual. Oh God, well if it wasn't for this thing. No, it's just got beat. I want to talk about that Spags point. I want to take some more calls. Right now we're waiting on potentially getting some audio live from Cincy. Beards, we're kind of in that holding pattern right now, right? Seeing who's going to come up. Cool. So we'll take some more calls momentarily. Also, if you want to get in touch with the show in other ways, you can leave your comments on the feeds of the Sports Radio 810 video feeds on the Sports Radio 810 WHB, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Across all those platforms, we got a live video feed up right now where you can see me, you can see Beards, and you can leave your comment in the chat there, interact with each other if you'd like, or just get a little visual on the show. Another good way to get in touch. So we will hear from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes later in the show. We will talk to Derrick of Chiefs Digest later in the show. Momentarily, I'm guessing we'll hear from probably somebody on the offensive side, somebody on the defensive side, if I had to guess. Isaiah Pacheco had a really nice day. Jerick McKinnon, maybe he gets some time at the podium, but it's certainly not going to be as fun on a day like this. Oh, Nick Bolton could be at the podium, which will be interesting. Because this was not a good game for him. I don't think he's some terrible football player, but for a defense that did not tackle tiger-striped players today, this would be a tough assignment for your middle linebacker, who also is not making any noteworthy positive plays today. Don't expect any of those guys to shy away from it or anything. Just not a very fun day to be at the podium. So we will we'll wait just a minute here. Some news on the NFL side. Jimmy Garoppolo ruled out for the year. Foot fracture for Jimmy Garoppolo, according to Kyle Shanahan. Expected to miss the rest of the season. Man, that's obviously 2 quarterbacks down there in San Francisco. We'll see if anything else pops up today. I'm guessing I didn't see anything else from this front, so I guess the Chiefs at least came out of this game pretty healthy. That's something. I don't know. Beards is currently, I know this is probably an annoying time to listen to this show and or be on hold because we're just waiting for the first murmurings of a potential player at the podium. But also, I want to take your calls, and I could try to sneak in a call, but the way that radio works, this is the first law of live radio, which is as soon as you take a phone call, the player comes to the podium within the next 15 seconds. Which I guess if one of you was willing to be like a sacrificial lamb of the phone lines, maybe get the presser started a little bit sooner. We can keep an eye on that. Another point that I will talk about the Spags matchup thing. Maybe that will be the thing that gets Bolton up to the podium. I think the Bengals are probably a bad matchup for just about everybody. It is very hard to prepare for 3 excellent wide receivers, a number 3 who's probably a number 2, a number 2 who's probably a number 1, and a number 1 who's probably a superhuman. That's a brutal matchup. And I mentioned this already, so I guess it's going to be redundant, but the Chiefs invest very little in their cornerback position historically, and they've gotten good production out of those guys. Javarius Ward went from a training camp trade to a guy getting a payday with San Francisco. L'Jarius Sneed looking like a superstar and a weapon in this defense. Rashad Fenton, I mentioned, a real success story as a 6th-round pick, even if you didn't like how it ended. McDuffie in the first is obviously a major investment. They traded up to go get him, so that one is the exception here. But then Josh Williams, Jalen Watson, and L'Jarius Sneed in the 4th, those are guys you were partially betting on the traits, partially betting on your coaching staff, but you're also partially betting on your pass rush. And I'm not here to pull the plug on the George Karlaftis experiment, but until they are able to have a more consistent pressure on Joe Burrow, I think some of the comparisons with Mahomes don't do Mahomes, or don't, I guess, are unfair to Mahomes and don't do Burrow any favors. But you can't blitz Joe Burrow, and the Chiefs can't get pressure with or without blitzing right now. Here's Nick Bolton live from Cincinnati.
Oh, man, he does a great job putting the ball away and protecting the football. He's unconventional in terms of scrambling. He kind of moves up in the pocket and shrinks himself down to take away some of the surface area to tackle him. And he's elusive, man. And so we just got to be a little bit better on tackling overall as a whole. I feel like we didn't tackle very well today. We can start there.
With the tackling, is that something that obviously you're looking to change, but how easy or difficult is that to kind of rectify going forward?
I mean, some of those things, you got to give them guys credit. Piron had a hell of a game. He's a shorter back, and he was able to use that to his advantage. Get downhill, kind of get a little sideways, make it a little harder to make one-on-one tackles. And I feel like you just got to go back to the drawing board in terms of just mid-target tackling, wrapping it up, taking body parts to the ground, and game tackling. We had a lot of tackles there, a lot of 1-1 in space. I feel like we get a couple more guys to the ball. Some little technique things we can clean up as well.
What does a loss like this do for you guys moving forward?
Oh, man, start all over. We got a lot of things we can fix. It's hard to correct things when you're winning. So you can go back to the drawing board. We can build on things we did right, and there's a lot of things we can clean up. I'll be better at going down the stretch.
Was there something that was similar that you saw last year? Last time you guys played these, last 2 times you played these Bengals, was there something similar that you saw, or was this a different team that you're playing against?
Oh, yeah, different team. A whole different dynamic. The counterattack is a little bit different than they did last year. This year, I think more so tackling. Last year, I think we had a lot of mental errors. Kind of led to explosive plays. We kind of made them take the long, hard road. Give them guys credit. They completed passes. Stayed in front of the sticks, kind of stayed on schedule throughout the day, and they just made more plays than us down the stretch.
Okay. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
There's Nick Bolton live from Cincinnati. I mean, yeah, they didn't tackle very well today. He says it. It's true. And then the follow-up on that, got to give them credit, is oftentimes fair. Like I said earlier, the Bengals are a good team. But when our bodies met theirs, ours went backwards and theirs went forwards, it's not a very satisfying reason to lose a football game. And it's honestly, I'm not saying that it's all over or anything. Hear me clearly, but it's not a very good thing to hear for what you expect your team to be. Because if we collide and they keep moving, if that's the takeaway, you you don't have the right guys. And your linebackers, Gay and Bolton in particular, your linebackers need to be the ones that are able to turn them around. You have to win those collisions as a linebacker, specifically one in Nick Bolton's style. He's not going to kick out to the slot and go stride for stride with anybody out there. That's not his game. That's fine. But you can't lose physicality if that's what you do. Because that one, I don't know how you change that for next time. You mentioned some techniques, some fundamentals. That can improve. But if you say they're bigger and faster and hit harder, I mean, I said that in high school, and then I stopped playing football. Because that was true, and that there was no amount of time in the weight room or no film to study to make that less true. Frustrating, not very satisfying. I'm sure that's true for the Chiefs players as well. What's up, Beards? You got a real quizzical look on your face over there. We might. We'll give it just a second, and I promise as soon as we know this for sure, we'll just start taking some calls right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. But that might have been the entirety of the pressers, other than Reid and Mahomes, which we will get you later on in the show. I'm guessing a lot of the reporters. Here's your behind the curtain sausage getting made and all that. Guessing most of the reporters who traveled are in the locker room right now. Probably going to be some stories to come out of that to kind of get the vibe of what the Chiefs locker room is like. So I'm guessing we'll hear from the locker room. In fact, Beards, just in case you want to make this our locker room report here on Nick Bolton front, we'll probably be able to hear from, we'll certainly hear from Zach Taylor. We might even hear from Joe Burrow later on. I know no one really wants to, so maybe we won't. But if that is the extent of our press conferences, other than Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, that would also be our locker room report, brought to you by Twin Peaks.
The Chiefs Locker Room Report is brought to you by Twin Peaks. No one does football like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, they have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu, second to none. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts at Twin Peaks.
Okay, so we believe right now, we may eventually hear from the locker room itself a little later on. We will hear from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes later as well. But the Chiefs appear not wanting to be spending too much more time in Cincinnati. And looks like the postgame strategy is going to be a part of that equation as well. So what we're going to do here is we'll take a quick timeout. Go ahead, Beards.
They rushed to the podium about as well as they did to Joe Burrow.
Slowly. Only one of them got there, and once they got there, they weren't there for very long. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what happened. Well, with that being said, if you're on the phone lines right now, hang tight because we will take a quick break and come back and just burn through some calls because I do want to hear from you all. And I just thought we were waiting on more pressers. In reality, we were just waiting on the Chiefs to tell us that they weren't giving us anything else. That's all right. We'll hear from Reid and Mahomes later on. I'm sure they will have plenty to say. Plus, we'll begin taking your calls. Matt, Derrick later on in the show as well. It's a Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show presented by CBD American Shaman. When Kansas City scores, you score big at your local CBD American Shaman. This could take a little edge off tomorrow because our team score is your % off. They scored 24 points, so you get 24% off all day tomorrow on orders of $100 or more at CBD American Shaman because life is better with the feather. I'm Joshua Brisco here with you on the 810 postgame show. More to break down, maybe more breakdowns in coverage or of the emotional variety. One way or another, we're breaking down next on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You're listening to exclusive post-game coverage on Kansas City's home for the NFL, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Brought to you by Casey's own CBD American Shaman. Come on into your local shaman store for a free sample of stress-sacking CBD. Everything is better with the feather.
The Whole Person connects people with disabilities to the resources they need to live independently and enjoy the many opportunities this great city provides. We're focused on creating a fully accessible community where opportunities and choices are not limited by disability. The Whole Person delivers programs and services that enhance the confidence of people with disabilities by providing the skills needed to live, learn, and work in the Kansas City Metro. The Whole Person serves both Missouri and Kansas. Learn more by visiting thewholeperson.org.
Joshua Brisco here for Ruback Fine Jewelry. If you're ready to create the perfect engagement ring, it's time to go to Ruback. Ruback took the stress out of the engagement ring process for me, and now my fiance has a beautiful custom ring that we'll treasure for a lifetime. Book your appointment now at ruback.co.
3 new pizzas mean 3 more reasons to love Schlotzsky's. Yeah, that's right. Their crust is so good, they made not 1, not 2, but 3 new pizzas. They've got the Supreme, loaded with as many meats and veggies as you can handle. The 4 cheese, topped with more cheese than a charcuterie board. And the meaty, with so many meats, you'll think you just hit the gym. Their fresh-made every morning crust is ready to rise and shine. So get up and get to Schlotzsky's today.
Join us for the Blue Valley West Jaguar 3-on-3 basketball tournament on Saturday, December 31st at the Blue Valley West High School Gym in Overland Park. The 3-on-3 rapid-fire basketball action will guarantee that your team will play in a round-robin format followed by seeded bracket play. This year's tournament will feature grades 3 through 12, including rec high school divisions. The registration deadline is December 30th, but teams who register by December 12th will receive a free t-shirt with prizes for first and second by age group. For more information, please visit bvwboysbasketball.com and click on the 3v3 tournament link.
Kevin Harlan from Monday Night Football here on Westwood One. Coming up, NFC South action when Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play host to the New Orleans Saints. The Bucs have a chance to get back to 500 and stay atop the division. Join me and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner for the action on Monday Night Football.
Kansas City's home for the National Football League. Sports Radio 810, WHB.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's original craft vodka. Tito's is made from corn and naturally gluten-free. Visit us at titosvodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, Neighborly 80 proof. Crafted to be savored responsibly.
Window Nation is spreading holiday cheer by saving you thousands from high inflation, escalating costs, and rising rates by giving you 0% interest for 5 full years. It's incredible. For a limited time, get 60 months with no interest payments. And that's in addition to Window Nation's amazing buy 2, get 2 free savings. You get both if you call Window Nation now, and you should. We're facing the highest energy cost in over 25 years. Your bill could be as much as 28% more than last year. Cut your energy use by up to 30%. Increase your home's value and get unheard of savings. Make 0 interest payments for 5 years, plus get 2 windows free with every 2 you buy, with no limit. And with no interest for 60 months, you'll have plenty of extra cash for your holiday spending. Make your home truly warm, comfortable, and inviting. Hurry, this won't last long. Call Window Nation today at 866-90NATION or go online to windownation.com. Get no interest for 5 full years and 2 windows free for every 2 you buy. Call 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com.
Hey, it's Grunny here for my friends at CBD American Shaman. Do you struggle with pain, sleep, anxiety, or lack of energy? Well, who doesn't? Visit your local CBD American Shaman and let them educate you on the benefits of the highest quality hemp oil available. And when the Kansas City football team scores big, you score big too. If Kansas City puts up 50, that's right, it's 50% off your order of $100 or more the day after the game. That's huge savings. CBD American Shaman. Life is better with the feather.
Gonna run it. Pacheco's got the first. He's got the touch. Kansas City back in front. First lead of the game, actually, for the Chiefs.
That play and overall the performance from Isaiah Pacheco and the offensive line were pretty excellent. That play right there is our moving parts play of the game presented by TVH because the offensive line was moving guys, those parts all moving together, and this moving parts play of the game is brought to you by TVH Parts. At TVH, every single part counts. They keep machines going and they keep you growing. They're also hiring. You can apply right now at tvhjobs.com. That's tvhjobs.com. Few more TDs would have been nice for the Chiefs offense. A little more resistance on the other side of the ball would have also gotten it done, but ultimately, okay performances in a lot of different areas were not enough for the Chiefs as they fall to the Bengals 27-24. The Bengals now on the 3-game winning streak in this era of the matchups between the Chiefs and Bengals. I'm sure nobody's going to have their entire week ruined by the frustrations of this game. Probably nobody at all. We'll go back to the phones. That is it for pressers, except for Reid and Mahomes, which we'll bring you later on. And yeah, we'll bring you Zach Taylor later on as well. But just Nick Bolton and the quarterback and head coach at the podium for the Chiefs. So we'll take all the calls on the line right now. If you're on hold, don't go anywhere. We're going to clean out the board before our next timeout. And next up, we have Ryan on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Ryan, appreciate you waiting on hold, my friend. What's up?
Yeah, it was a good game, I thought. Competitive team. Obviously, they've beaten us 3-0 now. That doesn't go without notice. I think Orlando Brown got whooped a lot of times today. Wiley, I also remember. I don't remember Bolton as much. I think he's had a great year, so I wasn't looking as much for him. The secondary, I think we got a young group. Justin Reid was the one that I saw a couple times. I don't like the Twitter comments this week. I don't think he meant anything by it, but just looking at that, our secondary, I think, just needs to keep growing. It's young.
Yep.
I didn't see Chris Jones at all either today. I think it was just an off game. If we went to playoffs today, I'm not scared of that team at all. We need home field advantage, though, I think, in any way. Pacheco, we need to run the ball more. And not to say that we haven't been doing a lot better of a job of it, but because everybody's playing Mahomes to be the passing game and such like that, let's start running the ball more. He looks like a stud, and I would say let's keep running him until he does something wrong. I'm always afraid when he pops up, like he's going to get like a personal foul.
Me too.
Like somehow, yeah, and it's like, what are you doing? And also the referees, the roughing the passer, not in just this game, across the NFL, it's getting ridiculous. The refereeing, it seems like, and I hate excuses. I wish it was getting better. It doesn't seem like it's been there. But other than that, we still have Mahomes. We're fine. It's fine. Did Kelsey really have the flu or something?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Did you hear that?
No. Is that out there somewhere?
I don't know that. I don't want to quote that, but
okay.
And people are going to double team him, bragging or whatever it be. Guys need to step up, but I really hope it comes down to Tyreek and Mahomes going square to square in the AFC Championship game. That's what I want. I think we'd still get there. This game, it's like Colts, horrible loss and stuff. I mean, you don't want this, but I don't have any doubt in this team at all, ever. So we'll mark it up. What is he down by? Mahomes was down by 10 today, but now he had a loss, for the first time in a long time. So other than that, I can see the people that are true fans and that already, on social media and stuff like that. They're like, oh my God, this and that. Seriously, settle down and let's just finish the rest of this season. Let's get on top. Let's get home field advantage, and then playoffs will take care of itself. So we'll figure out what's going on then. But anyway, we'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Ryan, I appreciate it as always. In fact, go ahead and stick on the line there, Ryan, and let Beards talk to you while I talk a little more. Then I'm going to circle back to a bunch of your points because I wrote them down. But I had to ask Beards during the call, has Ryan been our green grass cattle company caller of the day before? And Beards said no. So, Ryan, I feel like it's been overdue. The performances are consistent, my man, and I appreciate your perspective as always. We're going to send a tomahawk steak to Ryan, presented by Green Grass Cattle Company. You can visit their store in Weston, Missouri, off 45 Highway, less than a mile from the ranch, or order online at greengrasscattleco.com. They'll deliver right to your door. An incredible product, an incredible process at Green Grass Cattle Co., locally owned and operated right there in Weston. They implement the best practices with their premium Black Angus cattle, providing the best feed, clean water, and a low-stress environment to make sure you have the best tasting beef in town. Really cool to go out there and visit the folks at Green Grass. If you haven't made it out there yet, I would really encourage you to go check out the store in Weston, or again online, greengrasscattleco.com. Roughing the passer is broken, just as a concept. It is a useless penalty that at this point has lost all meaning. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know if it ever will be fixed, but that's unendingly frustrating. No counterpoint there. Pacheco does look like an absolute stud, and everyone listening to this probably knows this about me. I am not your establish the run guy. I think the conventional wisdom of running the football got out ahead of where it actually belonged for a little while, and now the NFL is kind of recalibrating a little bit. But ultimately, the whole point, when you're a pass-first offense, which, please hear me loud and clear, the Chiefs obviously should be a pass-first offense. The point of running the ball in a pass-first offense, or at least one of the points of it, should be changing how the defense wants to play you. And so, yeah, I mean, the Bengals weren't literally running their rush 3, drop 8 strategy the whole time. But whenever you have a team that is so clearly terrified of you beating them in the air more so than on the ground, and you're able to run the ball, at one point they were averaging like 6 or 8 yards per carry. By the end of the game, it was 5.5. I think that's one shorter Mahomes scramble there, and then Pacheco's average must have gone down over the course of the game. But ultimately, Pacheco's still averaging 4.7 yards per carry. If you're averaging 5, 6, 7, 8 yards per carry, just do that until the defense stops it, and then adjust back. Where I get frustrated is when teams run the ball after it stops being beneficial. The Chiefs very rarely hit that threshold, and so they absolutely could use Pacheco. And also, McKinnon looked great with the ball in his hands today. Not something they've done a ton this year, just straight up handing him the ball. He looked good when he had it. I wish Mahomes would have dumped it off to him on 3rd and short late in the game, and they might have been able to. I mean, they would have kept that drive going, and we might be talking about a Chiefs win in a very, very different tone here. I don't know. There was one other mention. Oh, from the young corners. I'm just not bothered by it. I think it's Ryan's point is a very good one. These are young guys, and this is when you talk about growing pains. Your incredibly young corners getting outplayed by maybe the best receiving core in football, at least if you go 3 receivers deep. I think it has to be. That's the trial by fire. The pass rush is supposed to get to Burrow quick enough that you don't have to hang out with him for a whole 45-minute play date deep in the secondary. It wasn't a awesome performance. I'm not telling you the Chiefs have the best trio of young corners in football now. They might, but I'm not saying I was convinced by that tonight. But it's a reasonable performance from a group that is very much getting its strongest test so far. Held up okay for the most part this year. The young corners are low on my list of things to be frustrated about. Next up, back to the phones, we got Gary. Gary, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up, Gary?
Not much, Josh. After watching that game tonight, I think the defense is in January form. That's what you get out of a Spagnuolo defense against good teams. And if you notice, though, when Cleveland plays that offense, they don't have any problem shutting it down.
Yeah.
Cleveland can shut that offense down. And let's just say they're not great shapes on that side of the ball, but they don't seem to have a problem doing it. But at what point with Spagnuolo do you have to just say, cut bait and move on from the guy? He's just not good at what he does. It's great when you can shut down teams that have nothing on, like Tennessee or the Rams that come in and they don't have a quarterback, and you can shut them down. But in January, this is what you're going to see. And if your defense can only force one punt during the course of a game, and you can't afford to turn the ball over because you know they're going to come back down and score. I mean, Travis Kelce, when he turned the ball over, you knew they were going to come down and score. I mean, they don't even have rumble strips on that defense to stop anybody. And where is the gang tackling? These guys don't gang tackle. It's pray to God the first guy gets him and takes him down while the other 9 guys stand there and watch.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. And Dave Merritt's another one. And as far as Spagnuolo, why do we sit there and play that stupid zone when the pass rush isn't getting home? You got that 1 yard up there where you can jam them and knock them off that route. We never do that. So we let the quarterback and the receivers play pitch and catch. And once again, another great job by no-show Chris Jones, who said he was going to have a great game today. He was motivated by this. That's all we heard all week. And, you know, and what was the scouting report on Nick Bolton coming out of college? He's a hammer looking for a nail. Well, the hammer just kept hitting the thumb today. So, you know what, guys, the rest of your schedule is very favorable for you going forward, but the 2 of the 3 losses we've had this year are the teams you're going to see in January.
Yeah.
And if you can't win those games in conference, can you have faith? I mean, we know they've done it to Buffalo, and it doesn't matter where you play Cincinnati. Do you really want to see them again? They better hope somebody takes care of it for them, because this coaching staff, and even the great Andy Reid, he's found his kryptonite, and everything is Spagnuolo's kryptonite. But I'll hang up and listen. Great show, guys.
Gary, I appreciate it as always. Look, I warned you I was going to defend Spags a little bit. When you've got 4 defensive backs around 1 receiver without the ball and 1 Jamar Chase with the ball, you'd like to see your guys make the tackle. I think the question about why doesn't this team gang tackle is a valid question, and one that I do not have a response for. My guess is that you spread out a defense enough, there's a lot of grass to cover, and then I don't know if it's closing speed. I don't know if it's, again, when I say that, like, I like Juan Thornhill, but when I look at Juan Thornhill doing the torpedo at your ankles thing, I wonder if it wouldn't be a little more useful for him to just try to jump onto somebody like a backpack and then wait for someone else to come over and help clean up. That's a question that I am genuinely curious about. I mean, I don't know if that's a teaching point or if that's an execution point. I think the Chiefs had more execution issues than coaching issues defensively today. That is where I have some amount of defense to offer for Steve Spagnuolo. The line about this defense not even having rumble strips got me, though. It's a good line regardless. And I'll do it again for Dave Merritt to say that the Chiefs' defensive backs have outperformed their draft slots in enough of a way that I think they are coaching up defensive backs in a useful manner. But like I'm probably going to go ahead and repeat myself on this one a few times. They've invested in the pass rush as if that's the unit they're relying on to make something happen. And then their corners are there to hang on while the pass rush gets home. You have a rushed throw, a tipped ball. You just bring down the quarterback as it goes. When you're affecting the quarterback, the jobs for all those young guys in the secondary get a lot easier. I don't even hate the logic of that. A few years ago, I would have argued a little more, invest in coverage, and then just sort of spread out your wealth from the pass rush. I have probably shifted a little more towards at least the middle. You could build a defense front to back or back to front, and I think you can make it work, but you got to get your investments right. And the Chiefs have not gotten enough of their investments right on the defensive line. Like, this is a wild name for me to mention. This is a wild name to mention in a post-game show from 2022. But the Chiefs drafted Breeland Speaks for this game. You're going, Josh, what? Go ahead, Beards.
He's never on the ground.
And, like, obviously, this is so far, it's not like that draft pick's the reason they lost this game. But you trade up and get an edge rusher because you know you want to pair someone with Chris Jones. You trade for Frank Clark because it's not working. You draft George Karlaftis knowing he's a project. And, again, I still think there's plenty of work for him to do going forward to become an excellent player. But they have continually pointed at the pass rush and said, that's what we're worried about, not the secondary. Again, McDuffie is the outlier on how they've handled that position. But I think it's the pass rush. And Chris Jones has been anything but a no-show the rest of this season. And yet, as your resident Chris Jones lover, who will happily tell you time and time again that he's the best defender on this team, the most important defender on this team, and maybe the second or third most important player on this team, I can't fully tell you that he didn't disappoint a little bit in this game, despite the fact that he lives under double teams. When you're the defensive player of the year, you have an expectation to do something of note in the fourth quarter. He's been great at that this season. He didn't do it today. I think that's a fair criticism. Next up, we got Butch on the line. Butch, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thanks for waiting, man.
Yeah, gentlemen. Let me tell you. I guess I'll try to get my thoughts together, and then I'll get off the phone here. You just mentioned it twice now, JB. You just said you had to mention the name T. Higgins. You just had to mention the name Breeland Speaks.
Yeah, I did it.
And you did it for a reason. And you're right, man. We are paying for the sins of not getting the right Willies and Joes. And it's for games like this. You needed someone to get to the quarterback. They get to your guy. You, on the other end, Kansas City, you didn't get a sack until the fourth quarter when the quarterback basically gave up.
Mm-hmm.
They get to your guy. They have answers for your problems. Oh, they're on the way to Chiefs on the way to get a 2-score lead. Our guys are going to – Jermaine Pratt's going to – one of the guys we drafted, he's going to rip the ball out of their Hall of Fame tight end's hands. We're going to get the ball back and go up 7. Resiliency. The Chiefs, on the other hand, I mean, guys, Tyler Boyd dropped a ball that hit him in the face mask for a touchdown.
Yep. Good point.
You were smoked. You were about to get ran off of this field. I enjoy what the Chiefs are trying to do. I had them at 11-6 before the season, and I had them losing this game in the regular season. So I can't be too mad about it. There are 3 points worse. But the Chiefs have a problem because the talent and the coaching right now are 1-to-1 in many games, but not against these guys. They seem to, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'll let you talk about this. The coaching staff seems to operate with the idea that their talent is good enough to where they can simply just kind of make the calls. And you're going to have to do something a little extra when you see these guys again, and if you see them again, Andy, because you're not good enough right now. Eager to see what that looks like.
Butch, I appreciate it as always. I very rarely have a whole lot to pick at with you, Butch, but mentioning the Tyler Boyd drop I don't think I'd said that name. I'm not sure I'd said the name Tyler Boyd. And if I had, I definitely don't think I mentioned that drop. That's another one to go back to when you mentioned earlier, like, hey, one Carlos Dunlap play away from a bunch of this not mattering. We're a Tyler Boyd drop away from this being the post-game show of a blowout, or at least it feeling like one, even if the final score would have gotten closer. It's a good point and a frustrating one. I don't think the Chiefs coaching staff, offensive game plan, any of that, I don't think they came into this game thinking, hey, we're going to run our like C plays, our B minus plays, which I think you maybe could have had an argument to do that against the Rams last week. But I don't understand why it feels so flat so often. Flat-footed, flat soda, flat landscape, whatever. That's the part of all of this that is strange to me, specifically in a week like this one, where there was a lot of intensity ramping up to this game. And so maybe the truth is that it just doesn't really matter. That the intensity level wasn't a determining factor. I don't know that that's a coaching issue. Maybe it's just as simple as, again, the wrong Jims and Joes. I think Willies and Joes, Butch said. It is unendingly frustrating, though, because it feels like everything you are all saying and hearing and feeling, which is that something didn't feel like it quite clicked into place. But that seems like a consistent theme when we sit here and we talk about Chiefs losses. We do it pretty infrequently, but when we do it, it feels like it's usually one of those things that just leaves that sort of ash in your mouth. It's a hard aftertaste to get rid of.
Do you want a YouTube comment that's going to make you sad?
Well, I mean, if you wouldn't have told me it was going to make me sad, I was going to say yes.
Would it help if I said it was from somebody named Joshua?
Yeah, it's probably a pretty good point.
Chris Jones is the best player on a bad defense. He is the Billy Butler of the KC Chiefs defense.
We should take a break so I can collect myself. You told me we could take one more call before we need to take a break, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Who left that comment on YouTube?
That was Joshua.
Good work, Joshua. Go ahead and mark that. I sounded so distraught saying it that by the time the cuts roll around on Friday, me just saying, great work, Joshua, you're at it again. It's probably going to be a pretty confusing drop for as sad as I am to be congratulating myself. All right, one more call, then we need to take a quick timeout. We'll keep working through the calls, and then eventually we'll get you Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Derrick of Chiefs Digest, all on the docket. But next up, we got Paul. Paul, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up, Paul?
Hey, guys, before the season started, we thought the threat to the Chiefs' kingdom was out west with Herbert, Carr, and Wilson. Well, unfortunately, our eastern flank got destroyed by two armies led by two generals, General Burrow and General Allen. not only have they destroyed the Chiefs' kingdom physically, but they're in our psyche. When you go up against Allen, and they're east of the Mississippi, they're built for cold weather, they're big, strong quarterbacks, and I think they're in our psyche. I really do. Those two generals have collapsed our eastern flank, and we've got to get something done in January because those big guys, those two generals are going to come. Either we're going there in cold weather, or they're coming here in cold weather. And gosh, I'm going to hate listening to national media tomorrow.
I know. It's going to be so frustrating.
It's going to kill me. Kill me.
Well, we'll have you covered for a large portion of the day here, Paul. I appreciate the call, and I really appreciate the artistry. It felt like a little essay there at the beginning. The eastern flank has gone down the General Burrow. This is true. This is not just a misery loves company thing. Sometimes I get tired of hearing my own voice, and I feel like we've run out of ways to talk about this game. And then you guys on the phone lines really brought some heat today. Nothing but bangers so far. We'll keep taking calls on the other side of the break. Appreciate everybody tuned in with us here. Maybe it is a little commiseration all together. At the very least, we can all try to understand what happened here a little bit better. But still plenty of time to hang out with us here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. It's brought to you by CBD American Shaman. Free CBD samples every day. We'll take a time out. I'm Joshua Brisco for Beers McFly and Dylan Michaels on the other side of the glass. We'll come back, take some more calls. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Matt Derrick around the bend as well. We'll definitely hear from Zach Taylor. Do you guys want to hear from Joe Burrow? Beard says no. I kind of do, but not in a real way. The Bengals are talking.
I want to go home.
And they've earned it. Yeah, I kind of do too. We'll take a break. More post-game show next on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You are listening to exclusive post-game coverage on Kansas City's home for the NFL. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Brought to you by Casey's own CBD American Shaman. Come on into your local shaman store for a free sample of stress-sacking CBD. Everything is better with the feather.
Get ready for Monday Night Football with the KC Legends Show hosted by Bill Moss, live from Barstool Sportsbook inside Hollywood Casino. Bill's special guest this week is former Chiefs tight end Keith Cash. They'll break down the Chiefs and Bengals, look ahead to the rest of the schedule, and get you ready for the Saints and Bucks on Monday Night Football. There's no better place than Barstool Sportsbook inside Hollywood Casino to place your bets. Featuring 16 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, and 45 HD TVs. Come check it out with the KC Legends Show tonight at 6 on ESPN Kansas City 94.5 FM.
Are you sick and tired of living with that constant pain in your knees and back? You know, joint pain doesn't just keep you from doing what you love, it affects your job, your relationships, even simple things like getting dressed. This is Stephen St. John. It's time to call QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses advanced regenerative medicine to restore and repair damaged joint tissue, giving you your life back. Hips, shoulders, elbows, they can all be treated with natural biologics from your own body. If you're tired of steroid shots that don't work, or if you're trying to avoid surgery, call QC Kinetics now to schedule your free consultation. Learn about these exciting new cutting-edge treatments for pain caused by arthritis or injury. No drugs, no pain meds, no downtime. This is an all-natural treatment that can get you lasting relief. People here are raving about the results. Call now. Appointments are available for this coming week. There are 2 locations, 435 in State Line and in Gladstone. Call 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics.
Looking for something for everyone on your list? B&B Theaters gift cards are perfect stocking stuffers. Gift cards can be purchased online at bbtheaters.com or in person at the box office. And you can host your holiday party at the movies. Reserve an auditorium just for your group. Email events at bbtheaters.com for pricing and availability. And 'tis the season for blockbusters. Get your tickets now for Avatar: The Way of Water, opening December 16th. Tickets on sale now at bbtheaters.com. When you need a fence, call Slagle Fence. It all started a decade ago, one fence at a time. 2 small-town Kansas brothers decided that they could build a better fence at a reasonable price. Today, Slagle Fence has grown to be one of the largest residential fence installers covering the entire KC Metro. Slagle installs it all, wood to ornamental steel to vinyl. No job is too large, and it will look great too. Call today for a free estimate, 816-863-6159 or slaglefence.com. In the pursuit of our passions, there's no finish line. For those who chase new adventures, bigger goals, unforgettable moments, once-in-a-lifetime trophies, Bushnell innovates the widest range of products for you. Because just like you, we are built for the pursuit.
Hey, Kansas City, this is Jack Johnson from ESPN Kansas City. With any dream, the wind won't always be at your back, the sun won't always be shining, and some rain is going to fall. American Family Insurance is like a good, solid roof that you can trust to protect your biggest dreams. With plans that could save you up to 23% when you bundle your home and auto, all so you can continue to dream fearlessly, no matter what comes your way. Visit Kim Hauer and Associates Agency at 105th and Metcalf in Overland Park. Or give Kim and her team a call at 913-649-2002. That is 913-649-2002 for a quote on your home and auto insurance today. One of the things I love about being back in the sports betting game is the player props and the game props. So many of them to choose from. And what's cool about FanDuel Sports is you can combine these props with other bets from the same game to score an even bigger payout. Whether you want to take the over on the rushing yards, whether you want to take the first half total, they are available to play however you want. Easy to register, easy to deposit, easy to find your bet, all at FanDuel Sports. There's no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay bet. So lock in your bet today at FanDuel Sports. Right now, new customers get up to $1,000 back in free bets if your first bet doesn't win with promo code PETRO. That's promo code PETRO, P-E-T-R-O. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the National Football League.
21 plus and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
It's for real. Mahomes up in the air, and he fumbled as he went across. Did he break the plane first?
It looked like he broke the plane. It
Touchdown's the signal.
Oh, he did the Michael Jordan up on top with the ball stretched out.
Not just the Michael Jordan, but really the Michael Jordan, like, Space Jam dunk. His arm just kept going. It was a touchdown for Patrick Mahomes, and that has to be our Andy's Sweet Play of the Game, brought to you by Andy's Frozen Custard. Stop by any KC location for Travis Kelce's 87 and running concrete to help raise money for this worthy cause. 87 and running and Andy's Frozen Custard, the perfect option play for KC fans everywhere. That play is a perfect example of the type of things that are ultimately lost to the sands of time whenever your team falls short, as the Chiefs did to the Cincinnati Bengals today, 27-24. Again, I think you could probably spread the blame out pretty thin, pretty widely. There's plenty to go around. Everybody probably deserves a little bit. There wasn't one total scapegoat in this game, in my opinion at least. But also, nobody did the thing where you just sort of grab your team by the scruff of the neck and drag them across the finish line. Patrick Mahomes is usually good for that. He had a couple of mistakes, especially later on in this game. But really, that, again, could be spread pretty evenly. And that's where we end up here now, talking about a loss on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show, which is brought to you by CBD American Shaman. Free CBD samples every day. Back to the phones before we turn around and get Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes from their postgame press conferences. Next up, we have Logan. Logan, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up, Logan?
Hey, how's it going, guys? My thing is the Chiefs can't take advantage of the Bengals' weakness, and it's because of poor defensive line play. The Bengals' weakness is their offensive line. 1 sack in 8 quarters against this offensive line. 1 sack. Not being able to take advantage of another team's weakness is why you have the trouble with one team. I mean, there's a reason why the Chiefs or the Bengals have the Chiefs number. I mean, there's the defensive line cannot get pressure. Yes, you have a young secondary, but I bet if you look at the Chiefs sacks this year, most of them come with pressure. The Chiefs can't get sacks without pressure, without blitzing. So when you cannot take advantage of another team's weakness, that's why one team has such an advantage over you, because your weakness is that team's weakness. And I mean, it's frustrating because the Bengals are a very good team, but there's a reason why their weakness shows up in the playoffs, and one team cannot take advantage of their weakness, and that's Chiefs. And that's pretty much all I got. That defensive line has got to get better, and I've been saying, I haven't called into you guys, but I've been saying it for you. You cannot pay Chris Jones. You have got to build a defensive line especially when you're paying so many other people on this team. You cannot pay one guy and just forget about the defensive line. And they've tried. Chris Jones is Frank Clark has kind of handicapped them for the past few years, but going forward, I'm on the side of you just can't pay Chris Jones going forward, because you have to build. You got to start from scratch building the defensive line. I'm okay with giving Karlaftis his chance going forward, but I just can't see them spending so much money on defensive line and continually to be this bad.
Logan, I'll get to the last 2% of that, but I think the first 98% of what you just said was stupendously accurate. So I appreciate the call, Logan. In fact, Beards, I've screwed up the phones. Don't worry about it. I figured it out. I think that the first 98% of that from Logan, absolutely 10 out of 10 on the nose. I've talked about the pass rush being my level of frustration here. In this hour we've been doing the show, did not say it as well as Logan did right there. So, Logan, hat tip, I'm going to steal this from you the rest of the week. Not only is it an issue with the Chiefs' pass rush, not only are they not getting pressure on Joe Burrow, it is specifically the Chiefs' pass rush cannot do anything against the Bengals' offensive line, which every other team can take advantage of. Every NFL team's going to have weaknesses. Across the board. You're going to find them somewhere. Salary cap, sport, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not totally sure where the Eagles is. Theirs might be the hardest to find right now. Quarterback on the rookie contract, all that good stuff. But the Bengals' offensive line has been the way they've lost games the last couple of years. They tried to revamp it. It's still not what they want it to be. Beard said during the game today, I'm going to paraphrase both for my poor memory and also for FCC reasons. But Beard said something along the lines of, if you only watched the Bengals play the Chiefs, you would not know they had offensive line problems. Beards, it's an excellent point. You and Logan have been the two best hosts of this show today, because that point is a stupendous one. But also, holy mother bleep, is that frustrating. Here's where I'm gonna throttle back just a smidge from where Logan landed there. I understand the logic on the financials, I really do. I also really don't think that the solution is stripping it down to zero or close to it and starting over, because I do not think you are going to add a player as impactful as Chris Jones. And I completely understand, but you can't pay one guy and then just put scrubs around him. I agree with that. I frankly, at every stage, to say nothing of him as a player, at every stage I've not liked the Joe Thuney contract. I think he's an excellent player. Seems like excellent robo teammate. And when he's out there on the field, which he very rarely isn't these last two games, the only games of his career I believe he's missed, he could be the best guard in football, but even being the best guard in football by a couple of strides, I don't know is it going to be enough to justify that contract. So I agree with that logic. I really do. But the Frank Clark draft picks, the Frank Clark salary, maybe the most of all, again, to some extent, the Breland Speaks draft pick, and right now Karlaftis is just very early in his career. But if you get those picks right or more correct, or that salary is better spent, I think he got hurt again this year, so this is kind of a weird example, but maybe if you spend that money on Emmanuel Ogbah instead, or you keep Melvin Ingram around, and you don't have to do the restructuring of Frank Clark's contract to keep him around on his inflated cap hit, you can build a good offensive line around Chris Jones, a dominant player. It does not have to be Chris Jones and scrubs or a bunch of good players. It can be Chris Jones and good players around him. So that's the only tweak I'd make to what Logan said there is on that point. The frustration of, holy cow, how is this the team? Maybe the only team that doesn't seem to be able to pressure Joe Burrow behind this offensive line that nobody thinks anything of. That one is deeply frustrating and an excellent point. So I appreciate that call, Logan. Next up, we got Andre in Cincinnati. Andre, give me the Cincinnati perspective here, my friend. What's up?
Man, I'm not a Cincinnati fan. I'm a Kansas City fan. I've been to the last two Kansas City Chiefs losses to the Cincinnati Bengals, and by my count, that's about 3 losses in a row. So it's definitely not a fluke. Chris Jones, nothing wrong with Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, these guys. I think this is just a classic matchup issue with this squad. It's 3 things that stood out to me about this particular ball game. One, I think everybody been talking about the Chris Jones and no pressure. I'm not a schematic guy, but whatever Cincinnati's doing with their center and 2 guards to neutralize Chris Jones, they're able to do that very well. What they did to Travis Kelce today, 4 catches, 50-some yards, shut him down, made him a non-issue in this ball game. That also stood out to me. And then the Jamar Chase situation, right? I think the Chiefs, with their defensive scheme, are pretty much locked into playing zone coverage because they're really afraid of what Jamar Chase is going to do if you put him out there one-on-one. Because you play him one-on-one, he's going to go for 266 yards, because I think he did one time before. So the Chiefs are in a very, 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 very bad spot when they come out and matching up with this particular ball club. One thing that was really kind of, that I think really highlights how bad this matchup is for the Chiefs is the fact that Joe Mixon didn't even play today.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon is probably a top 10 running back in the league, and we had some Margie Pirine come out and average 4.8 yards to carry this ball game. So you're trying to cover Mixon, you're trying to cover Chase. That means you got some Margie Pirine or Joe Mixon, if he's in the game, wide open in the flats all day long. I think the running backs had 6, 7, 8 balls today out in the flat. So it's just a terrible, terrible matchup for the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs play hard. I don't doubt Andy Reid. I think if Patrick Mahomes had a chance to get the ball back at the end of the game, maybe he could have went down there and pulled it out. Before defensively, us matching up with this particular ball club, it's just a real, real challenge because you just can't do anything with Jamar Chase. You can't play him one-on-one.
Yeah.
So that means you got to keep his safeties back, which means they're going to be able to run the ball on you, or they're going to be able to dump it off. And 3 in a row is not a fluke. One more thing before I get off the line. Listening to the callers, it's almost like the Cincinnati Bengals were not the representative in the Super Bowl last year in the AFC. You know, with Chiefs fans starting the season, we thought it was all about us and the Buffalo Bills. And everybody, I think, has pretty much forgot about the Cincinnati Bengals. But at the end of the day, they were the team that represented the AFC in the Super Bowl last year. And they're going to be around, and we're going to see this team again, probably in Arrowhead. It is going to be a struggle to beat this ball club. We can do it. We can do it. But this is a hill to climb for us at this point. It's not mental. It's a schematic. It's players on the field. And we just got to buckle down and maybe get the ball in Pat Mahomes' hand with 2 minutes to go to pull it out. But 3 in a row is not a fluke, guys. It is not a fluke. So that's all I got, man. Love the competition. Love to see 2 great football teams go at it in November, December. And looking forward to seeing the team again, man. Looking forward to seeing the Bengals again. You guys have a great night.
Appreciate it, Andre. Great call. Here's a few things off that. You're right. 3 in a row, not a fluke. Got to live with that now. Just got to wear it.
3 in a calendar year. Can we not see them in the playoffs?
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know that they will because, as we've been over, other teams seem to beat the Bengals at an okay clip, and then this team doesn't. So I hope that whatever the paths on the theoretical bracket, it's not really quite how that works, but, you know, the seeding and whatnot, however it plays out to keep the Chiefs and Bengals farther apart for longer, good for the Chiefs. Probably bad for Cincinnati, though, which is just sort of hilarious. Good points by Andre on the matchup issues that we've talked about a little bit now. The fact that they were able to double team and hold Chris Jones down is a testament to them as much as it's a detriment to the Chiefs. If you got one guy being double teamed all day, someone else has to win a one-on-one matchup. But that's about the Chiefs, not about what they did. And what the Bengals did was successfully keep Chris Jones in check, which is hard to do even when it is using two of your 5 linemen to do that. What they did to Travis Kelce, absolutely. However much you are devoting to covering Travis Kelce, being able to do it in any way, shape, or form is an achievement. And then it reminds you how frustrating it is, like what happened to the rest of this team. Juju Smith-Schuster had some moments where you went, yes, here we go. The clutch at 3rd down conversion, at least one of his receptions was that. 3 catches, 35 yards. MVS has 2 bombs and a couple of, as we would say, strikeouts, to keep the analogy from earlier going on. Travis Kelce had 4 receptions and led the team in receptions. Patrick Mahomes threw a lot of balls to a lot of guys. Very rarely was it... There were conversions Very rarely were they backbreakers. That's frustrating. Not Andre's point, but just what I've been now distracted to, because the box score for this game is going to look like a joke because it just doesn't make any sense, which tends to happen against the Bengals, which isn't a fluke at this point. Next up, we got Troy on the line. Troy, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up?
How's it going, Josh? I just, like probably the majority of people calling in, I just wanted to talk about the pass rush a little bit.
Please.
I can't remember which of your Times R's co-hosts talks about this, but, the need for, I think, 3 good pass rushers.
Yeah.
Have Chris Jones, obviously, and, in spurts we have Frank Clark occasionally showing up, Mike Dana occasionally showing up. Karlaftis, obviously, like you've been talking about, work in progress on that. PFF has this statistic they measure that QB pressures, and Karlaftis is always at the top of the rookie ranks here. But at a certain point, those don't translate to sacks for a reason. Not saying obviously give up on the rookie, but another guy who is always close to leading, the PFF pressures stat is Jadeveon Clowney. And, I'd say most people maybe don't, view him as a complete bust, but certainly not worthy of the number 1 overall pick at this point, and obviously Karlaftis wasn't the number 1 pick, but just, it seems like more often than not when he gets a pressure, all it leads to is flushing the quarterback out for like an 8-yard rush for a first down. And I don't know if that scheme that needs to change to take care of that somehow. And obviously, Frank Clark has his own health issues that, he tried to gut it out. No pun intended. But, it's so frustrating. And, you talked about the Jimmies and Joes of it all. And, oh, man, and who knows? Maybe Brandon Williams, once he gets some more time with our defense, will be able to, be a big body and take some attention up the middle. Maybe get Chris Jones free in games like this.
Yep.
But dang, the team obviously really wanted this one. I think I remember seeing a Bobby, I don't know if it's Stroopy or Stroop.
Mm-hmm. Bobby Stroop. Mm-hmm.
Tweet in the middle of the week. I think is asking what kind of cigars we're going to be smoking in the locker room after the game. I think it's safe to say they weren't smoking any cigars today. And, I guess the last point that I wanted to make is tuna in a freaking can. Justin Reid, I know, by Jamar Chase standards, as his first game back, he didn't have the best game. He had a couple stupid penalties. Finally got called for a push-off.
Yeah.
But Justin Reid didn't back up his talk at all today. He had, from what I can remember, he had a missed tackle in the backfield. I don't know, if he had a terrible game, but, he certainly didn't do anything to back up all the trash that he was talking. At this point, I don't think it was the wrong move to sign him over Matthew. I'm not sure it was the right decision to allocate that kind of money to either of them.
Yeah.
And, I guess that's all I have. Good to call in. We're friends on Pokemon Go, by the way. My name is Mahomes the Goat, and so thanks for taking my call.
Fantastic. Well, look, I got to probably send you a gift back to give back from this phone call. Appreciate it, Troy, both over the airwaves and over Pokemon Go. I've got lots of strong Pokemon Go takes. This probably will not be the time that I let loose, but, man, do I have them. So appreciate that, Troy. That's very funny. I'm going to have to make a note of that also. So on the pass rushing point in particular, the Justin Reid question is a fair one. I'm going to let it play out. Obviously, the money is there now. I'm going to keep an eye on that. This game is the start of, was that the right decision to sign Justin Reid? I agree. Not signing Tyrann Mathieu is not a topic of conversation. That would not have been the thing to do for the future of this defense, the president of this defense. But Justin Reid in particular, going to have to prove that his contract was worth it. On the Karlaftis pressures thing, here's something that I'm sure either of my illustrious Times R's co-hosts, as you referred to, would I'm sure agree on. We talked about a lot in a lot of different places. But pass rushing is a team sport. And so if you tell me that a player is consistently getting pressures but not getting sacks, or they're getting pressures and it's not leading to sacks, and this is also certainly applying to my Chris Jones logic, but if you say George Karlaftis is getting pressures and they're not leading to sacks, I am less worried about what George Karlaftis is failing to do and more worried about what the rest of the pass rush is failing to do. Because if you are herding sheep, if you're a sheepdog, you can run the sheep towards the pen. You can try to herd them around, but eventually you're going to need the fence to do its job. I think that's how sheepdogs work. Probably just round him up, I guess. But, Joe Burrow's not a sheep. He's trying to get away. So my analogy might not be perfect. But if you're getting some pressure, certainly you want one guy to be able to make the play. You win your matchup, you bring down the quarterback. That is option number one. That's the best case scenario for a pass rusher. But if you can affect the quarterback, make him move off of his spot, ideally into the arms of a teammate, that's useful. And the Chiefs didn't do really any of that today. The biggest sort of sack celebration moment of the day was Karlaftis and Frank Clark chasing Joe Burrow out of bounds after gaining a few yards. I think it was on third down. They ended up kicking, or I don't know if it was a field goal or a punt after that, whatever. But it just seems like everything. You just hope Mike Dana wins his matchup and then he gets back there and it's just him and Joe Burrow and a bunch of grass. That's not enough. It is a team sport. One more call here, and then we'll take a break and come back with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Chad, go ahead and close us out here for the segment. You're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up, Chad? Oh, we lost Chad. Almost certainly not what he meant to do. He was on hold until exactly that moment. So here's what we'll do. Chad, if Chad calls back in, I'm gonna allow the re-rack on the call. But we're gonna go ahead and take our timeout anyway, and we'll come back and hold on, Beards. You check and see if the call back worked. Since Chad spent some time on hold here, I'd hate for it all to be for naught. Then we'll bring in Mahomes and Andy Reid as well. So that's just around the corner. Then Matt Derrick will follow the remaining pressers. Also, Sunday Night Football right now, Colts and Cowboys. The Colts have had a couple of big plays here tonight. 10-7 Indy over Dallas right now. In a game that I'm not sure necessarily has huge impacts on the Chiefs, but if you just want some different NFL football that isn't the Bengals game, Chiefs-Bengals game, you can check that out on ESPN Kansas City, 1510 AM, 94.5 FM. Otherwise, stay right here, and when we come back, we will continue to talk about Chiefs-Bengals, what went wrong, and also what we hear from the head coach and the quarterback. So on the other side of the break, you're listening to the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show, brought to you by TVH. TVH is now hiring and looking for dog lovers, football fans, hikers, bikers, barbecue lovers, and anyone who happens to be interested in a great place to work. If you want to check that out, you can do so and learn more at tvhjobs.com. That's tvhjobs.com. We'll take a quick time out. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes at the other side of the break here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show.
You're listening to exclusive postgame coverage on Kansas City's home for the NFL. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Brought to you by Casey's own CBD American Shaman. Come on into your local shaman store for a free sample of stress-sacking CBD. Everything is better with the feather.
It's time to take the whole family straight to Andy's Frozen Custard. They have this incredible new s'mores jackhammer. Amazing fresh vanilla frozen custard blended with chocolatey melted hot fudge and the crunchiest, crumbliest graham crackers. Andy's Frozen Custard, the world's finest. It's the best way to top your day with a smile.
Folks, this is your pilot. We have to land immediately and hurry to the Xfinity Black Friday sale. New Xfinity customers can get 400 megabit internet with unlimited data and X-Fi Complete for $55 a month for 2 years with no annual contract. And a free 4K streaming box included. Plus, now through December 5th, get HBO Max included for a year.
Drop everything and get to the Xfinity Black Friday sale. Go to Xfinity.com to learn more. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Ad-supported plan of HBO Max. After promo, regular rates apply to all services and devices.
Do you need a more rewarding job where you are truly valued? Check out TVH at tvhjobs.com. We're now hiring, and we're looking for dog lovers, football fans, hikers, bikers, and barbecue lovers who also happen to be interested in a great place to work. TVH offers many amazing benefits, including a preschool and an on-site wellness coach. At TVH, every single part counts. We keep machines going, and we keep you growing. Apply now at tvhjobs.com.
Are you looking for a career change? Let Sports Radio 810 help you with your search. Many local companies are hiring right now. Go to 810WHB.com, click on the Community tab, and search Job Connections. Great companies in Kansas City need you right now, and the compensation and benefits packages are excellent. Companies like Central Power Systems and Services, Airgas, and Bickhammer Electric. Check it out by logging on to 810WHB.com, clicking the Community tab, and searching Job Connections. 810 Job Connections, connecting you with your next career. Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's original craft vodka. In 1995, Tito Beveridge built his very own distillery and put his life savings into it. Since then, he's won the unanimous Judges' Choice Double Gold Medal at the World Spirits Competition, the Chairman's Trophy for World's Best Vodka Tonic, and many others. Tito's Handmade Vodka is still made on the same land where he started it all in Austin, Texas. Distilled from corn and gluten-free. Visit us at titosvodka.com for recipes, videos, and more. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof. Crafted to be savored responsibly.
Hey, Kansas City. Good Sense here. You know, size really does matter when it comes to our sensational subs. The competition just can't stack up to our giant 16-inch whole sandwiches. Starting with our baked fresh daily pillowy soft bread, loaded with your choice of sliced to order meats and cheeses, and the freshest veggies in town. Why would you settle for second string when you can eat like a starter every day?
Get ready for Monday Night Football with the KC Legends Show hosted by Bill Moss, live from Barstool Sportsbook inside Hollywood Casino. Bill's special guest this week is former Chiefs tight end Keith Cash. They'll break down the Chiefs and Bengals, look ahead to the rest of the schedule, and get you ready for the Saints and Bucks on Monday Night Football. There's no better place than Barstool Sportsbook inside Hollywood Casino to place your bets. Featuring 16 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, and 45 HD TVs. Come check it out with the KC Legends Show tonight at 6 on ESPN Kansas City 94.5 FM.
They hand it off, and they are able to get on him right away. That was Dunlap, the former Bengal, who made the stop on Trent Taylor. What a play by Carlos Dunlap.
His first game back in Cincinnati after a decade there for the Bengals. Carlos Dunlap made the defensive play of the game, brought to you by Schlegel Fence. When you need a fence, call Schlegel Fence. Schlegel Fence installs it all, from wood to ornamental steel to vinyl to chain link. No job is too large, and it'll look great too. Schedule your free estimate by going to schlegelfence.com or call 816-863-6159. We'll go back to the phones here and then bring you Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. That's the plan for the next segment or two here on Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. Joshua Brisco and Beards McFly with you till the end of the show. A couple more calls here that snuck in under the wire. Next up, we got Larry. Larry, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up, Larry?
What's up, man? Hey, guys, I love the show.
Thank you.
But I just wanted to talk about, so I saw something that my dad actually texted me. But was wondering, I know Kelsey went 4 for 56, but was wondering, was he under the weather maybe a little bit tonight? And then also,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, and then the Bengals have our number, man. So we're 0-3. I think that's the first time in the Mahomes era, right?
Got to be, yeah.
Yeah, but hey, Joe Burrow, go get a ring, man. All right, guys, love you.
I appreciate it, Larry. We love you too. I think I am very hesitant to ever do the he's going to get the ring thing, but Joe Burrow's the only guy in the AFC who has the KC Wolf's head on a spike. That feels kind of grisly, but it's just the mascot head. I mean, unless there's any kids listening, and if there are any kids listening, that's a horrific image regardless. So never mind. Blew that one. But yeah, Burrow and the Bengals are the only team that have that legitimate argument that we have your number. You can't do anything other than say, yeah, you do. And I hope you call it again in January if you do want them to call it again in January.
I hate tuna.
I enjoy tuna, but I prefer it out of the can. But in or out of the can, I still do enjoy some tuna fish. I've seen a couple things. A caller earlier mentioned, was Kelsey under the weather? I then saw a bunch of people on Twitter kind of having some like tweeting about the flu or some congestion or whatever. I don't think he ever showed up on the injury report with that at any point. So I think that, I'll tell you what, I think that is speculative. That does not mean it is not true, but I certainly haven't seen or heard anything definitive to verify that. So maybe not a super helpful answer, but a true one for me right now. Next up, we have Bo on the line. Bo, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's up?
Hey, I got a couple questions. First off, I haven't been listening all night if they've talked about this, but Andrew Wiley, why isn't Lucas Niang out there? If he's playing like that, didn't he give up maybe 2 or 3 sacks alone himself today?
He definitely got worked pretty good, yeah.
I mean, it seemed like every time he dropped back on his side, Hendricks was all over him back in the backfield. It seemed like he got beat at least 60% of the time.
Yeah, go ahead, Bo. I'll let you go ahead and ask your questions. I'll write them down as we go.
And my other question is, on top of that, with the what do you call it? With Mahomes and stuff, it seemed like the pressure was so bad that he was getting jittery and stuff in the pocket and stuff. Oh, missed a few throws, could have gotten back, and the other thing with Scantling, it seems like he's dropping a lot of passes and stuff. And I was going to ask with Harrison Butker, with the kicking issues, if this was a playoff game as it was tonight, were we standing with the kicking situation and stuff? I mean, you can't trust him. Seemed like he's missed, since he gotten back, 4 or 5 between extra points and field goals?
Yeah.
And I'll listen off the air. Thanks, man.
Bo, I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll work backwards. Yeah, Butker, obviously, it just seems like there was a little bit of feeling like he was getting into a groove as recently as last week. The 55-yarder is a 55-yarder. The stats around the league on that one are, I think I saw something like a 55, 65 sort of percentage success rate, something like that.
I have got Butker's kicking stats for the year if you want them.
Just for this year?
For this year.
Yeah, I'd love that.
So on extra points, he is 90%, 20 for 22.
Not good enough, just on the NFL scale, just not horrendous. Two is not 6, but not quite good enough for extra points.
And on extra points,
field goals now?
No, yeah, sorry. On field goals now, he is 12 of 15, 80%.
Do you have distance ranges there of those or the splits or anything? Because he had still been very good from deep and worse from closer.
I do on field goals.
Today, yeah. So what are the field goal depth percentages there?
Under 30 yards, he's 5 for 5. 39 to 30, he is
39 to
30 to 39 yards, he is 3 for 4.
Got it. Okay, sorry.
On 40 to 49, he is 1 for 2, and then 50 plus, he is 3 for 4.
That was the first 50-plus yarder he had missed this year, I suppose, then. I'm trying to see if that math makes... He hasn't kicked very much, I guess, yeah, because he missed all that time in the first chunk of the season, so...
For comparison's sake, last year he was 89% from field goal distance, from field goal attempts.
89 last year to what this year again?
80.
Okay, there you go. I think the injury is certainly affecting him. I think mentally there might be a little bit of something there just with that plant foot. I don't think you have better options, but you don't have the best one in football at the moment, or at least a top 3 guy, as Butker has been recently. So that's just something that I think you kind of have to bake into the math right now. Yet another reason to be more aggressive on 4th downs in field goal range. If you don't fully trust your kicker, I would let that, certainly would let that encourage me to be a little more aggressive offensively. MVS has absolutely had his share of drops here in Kansas City. That was part of the rap coming out of Green Bay as well. So that's not like a surprise for who he is as a player, but it's certainly not something you can tolerate a whole lot of. Despite the fact that he still hits, I'll mention what Rustin Dodd tweeted that I just thought was funny during the game. He said Marquez Valdez-Scantling is like a baseball player who strikes out 225 times and hits 30 home runs a season. And I kind of think there might be a little something to that is frustrating when it's a drop and is thrilling when it's a long gain on 3rd and long. I mean, that might just be kind of who he is. If that is the case, it challenges how much you can trust him as a number 1 or even number 2 receiver in this offense where he's the 3rd option. I think that can work. When McCole Hardman and or Kadarius Toney are active, though, he can, have another weapon out there that I do think would make everything a little easier. Don't know if I've mentioned those names yet in the show tonight, but I think this offense will look better with hopefully both of them on the field together, but certainly either of them come playoff time. That's just not very satisfying right now. And then on Wiley and Niang and Mahomes. Mahomes is so good on the move that I do think I probably gloss over like what consistent pressure does to him. He has had his issues drifting a little too far or getting a little jittery in the pocket. Typically, I think he only really does that when the offensive line has lost his trust a little bit, like reasonably so. But I totally think that that's a fair part of the equation. On Wiley and Niang, I think Wiley is going to keep being the guy at right tackle, and Niang will be the first swing tackle option at this point. You saw today when Niang came on, he was the 6th offensive lineman because that's usually Nick Allegretti, and obviously Allegretti was starting at left guard because Joe Thuney was out again. I don't think there is a 0% chance that switch happens this year, but I think it's unlikely. I think the Chiefs drastically prefer consistency on their line. Wiley and Trey Smith have now been playing next to each other for the vast majority of last season, the entire offseason, the preseason, this entire season. I think they're going to value the communication between those guys and the unit as a whole enough to keep Wiley starting and Niang as the swing guy. But I understand your question because I'd be asking the same thing if I was just trying to figure out if that's a move they could make. I'm curious. I would be intrigued by a move there. If the Chiefs thought it was justified, I think they will err towards consistency, though.
Wasn't there some Prince Teguinogo action a couple weeks ago where he didn't look too bad?
He was fine. Our dear beloved friend Seth Kaiser took a closer look. Not anything to write home about from old Prince, who, again, you can step in. And I believe Seth's main takeaway was the Chiefs were giving him a lot of help, which is what you do to try to keep somebody, looking all right when they're forced in because of injury. That was when Wiley had his elbow thing, I believe. Now, also, Wiley's up there with an elbow brace. If that's giving him trouble, I'd be happy for that to be a reason. You give Niang a closer look. But the Chiefs have not been quick to make changes on the offensive line, generally speaking, other than when forced to via injury. I'm not necessarily saying that's the best strategy. I'm just saying, predictively, I'd be a little surprised if that change does come. But I'm intrigued by the idea. I'm also intrigued by the idea of hearing from Chiefs head coach Andy Reid, which it's time for us to do here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. Again, we're all brought to you by CBD American Shaman. Free CBD samples every day, and we'll get you Andy Reid here right after this.
Andy Reid is presented by Robert Brogdon Buick GMC and Robert Brogdon's Olathe Kia. Visit BrogdonAutomotive.com.
We go to Andy Reid here as he spoke in Cincy after the game. We start from the top as Andy Reid goes through injuries, general thoughts, and takeaways of the game as the Chiefs fall short of Cincinnati for the 3rd consecutive time.
All right. As far as the injuries go, Pat hurt his foot there at the end, but it looks like he's going to be okay. A hard-fought game. The Bengals did a nice job, and coming down the stretch, you can't turn the ball over against a good team, and you surely can't miss a field goal. But there was a lot of things in between that we could have done better, and so we'll go back and we'll work on it and make sure that we learn from it and try to become a better team. So with that, time's yours.
Certainly can't miss the field goal, he says. I mean, I don't know. But I'm sure he'll cover a lot of this. I'm going to try to keep us moving pretty quick through the audio for today because there's a lot we've already talked about and could continue talking about. So Reid says you can't miss the field goal. Here is what he had to say about Butker's late miss and thoughts going forward.
Yeah, very similar to what we've done before, and that's within his range. We got to get that combination, the snap a little higher and the kick a little stronger, and you got a good thing going, but it didn't happen.
One of the things that it's such a split second, but is that one where you weigh pretty heavily or consider pretty strongly to keep the offense on the field?
Well, if I don't think he can make it, then I'm not going to do it. It's pretty simple that way. So, but I felt like he was, he's been in a good place, and we just got to execute it better all the way around. So, and then we shouldn't really come down to that too, but it did. And we got to make sure we do it. If you're going to be a good football team, all phases got to be able to take care of business.
Here's what I would disagree with there when he says it shouldn't come down to that, but it did. No, it didn't. Had a caller mention earlier, I went and got the exact time stamp. Chiefs had like 3.5 minutes left on the clock at that point. The game wasn't coming down to that. It just was at that. They tried that field goal to tie it. I mean, like, think about the presser. Butker hits that. And the Bengals go on a 3 minute and 23-second drive, score with a second left. I don't know. Some frustrating decisions in this game. Also frustrating to watch the Chiefs attempt to tackle, and Andy Reid talked a little bit about the tackling issues today and other places where the Chiefs could improve.
Yeah, I didn't think we tackled as well as we had been. We can do a better job with that. That's something we'll look at on tape and get fixed. It was the same way the offensive side. We can block better and do a lot of things on that side of the ball too. And everybody's got a little piece of this, and we got to take care of that.
I don't expect Andy Reid to go out and be like, "Oh yeah, this player's got to be better," because I don't think your coach like calling out dudes is a good look. So I'm not saying that he should be, but like that clip, I just sort of groan because like, yeah, we could tackle better and block better. Cool. What are we doing here? Why are we doing this? Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says Chiefs could have tackled, blocked better and lost to Bengals. Awesome. Informative. I know Andy Reid's job partially there is to just like tell the media nothing. I get it. I'm not surprised by it. It just bums me out because Andy Reid could say some more interesting things, but it's all, state secrets and whatnot.
He also could have said they could have scored more points.
Hey, you know what? We could have scored more points. We could have given up fewer points. That's on me. It might be good for coaching, but it's bad for postgame showing. I'm not saying Andy Reid should be hosting the show also, but yeah, we could tackle and block better. Doesn't exactly blow this case wide open, Sherlock. Games that end that way are so unsatisfying. Games where you say we could tackle and block better, the fundamental physical aspect of football, it's just not very satisfying. It's like saying we could have been a little faster and a little stronger at times, and that would have helped. Maybe I just start interpreting these in the most hostile ways possible, where I go, oh, wow, Andy Reid said tackling and blocking was a problem. Andy Reid calls out Brett Veach, says roster isn't strong enough or physical enough to beat the Bengals. More at 11. Maybe that's the way to do it. Otherwise, it's just not very helpful. Here's Andy Reid asked about the lack of pressure on Joe Burrow. Yet another pretty fundamental, pretty devastating issue the Chiefs suffered today.
Yeah, I mean, their offensive line at times did a good job. At other times, he's slippery and he kind of worked his way through, made some plays with his legs. But I thought we had decent pressure on him, throughout.
Oh, my bad. That was from the first Bengals game.
I can't even tell if that's a joke or if that's real. I really don't know. Based on the format on my sheet in here, I'm guessing that was a joke, Beards. But if you told me it wasn't, if you said you went and grabbed a clip of Andy Reid talking about pressuring Joe Burrow from the AFC Championship game.
Oh, wait, was that the second game? I can't
It literally
It doesn't have a date on here.
He's slippery. Kyler Murray wasn't this slippery. I don't know if Josh Allen was this slippery. Why is Joe Burrow untackleable? Like the Tom Brady comparisons make him seem like he's like not an athlete, and that's not fair. He's more of an athlete than a 57-year-old quarterback out there doing it. But like why is that the cheat code? Why does he the one that like just disappears in like a hologram?
I think I was trying to find
behind a
quickly.
crappy offensive line, by the way.
I was going to see if I could find the leaders and like sacks taken for this year.
Yeah, I was on that this week actually on StatMuse.
That's the all-time. But I was like, he's got to be up there somewhere. He takes so many sacks, except against the Chiefs.
Number one here, Justin Fields with 40. Russell Wilson is second with 37. Third is Daniel Jones with 37, tied with Russell Wilson there. And then fourth is Joe Burrow with 34. Joe Burrow, and this might have been entering the game today because technically the Chiefs got one there towards the end, so that one technically counts. But Joe Burrow entering this game had been sacked either 33 or 34 times, which was, depending on when StatMuse updates their stats for the week, would have been fourth most in football. Would have no idea if you watch the Chiefs play the Bengals. I mean, it is legitimately kind of bonkers. On this clip, Joe Burrow would have been sacked like 12 times this year if he only played the Chiefs, which would not even get him onto the webpage. Deeply frustrating. Andy Reid here asked about why the Chiefs came out to a slow start in this game.
Good football team you're playing. And, there were things we put our finger on because we were able to score after that. And I thought we played a little better defense there.
They came out slow because the other team is good, and they played better later on. Cool. Next year, did Patrick Mahomes' little gimpy foot there that Reid mentioned, banged up at the end, should be okay. But did Patrick Mahomes' late injury there cause the Chiefs to go for the field goal on fourth down on what ended up being their final drive?
No, listen, I thought we had a chance to make the field goal. Yeah. Yeah, he's okay. He was all right. Yeah.
Yeah, Andy Reid says that's not the reason they did it, so everybody else on Twitter can stop suggesting that's why that decision made sense. Once again, I will feed the fed horse on this one. You make the field goal. Now it's a tie game, and the Bengals have the ball with 3.5 minutes left. It keeps the game going. It keeps you alive. But it wasn't like it would have been the field goal that puts you up by 9 or even puts you up. It wasn't as time expired and he just didn't make it happen instead of trying a Hail Mary. A lot of football left for the Bengals once they got the ball back. They kick the field goal and they get the ball the exact same spot they would have gotten the field goal on an incomplete pass attempt on fourth down. As Reid says, the Bengals are a tough team, but also, as we've talked about all day, the Bengals are a tough matchup for the Chiefs. Here's Andy Reid trying to answer why that is.
Yeah, this one came right down to the end. I don't feel that way. I think it's two good football teams playing each other, and we got to take care of business down the stretch. The last couple series there, we got to take care of business.
But it came right down to the end. Doesn't mean they're not a bad matchup for you. The Chiefs don't let a whole lot of games come down to the end because they are better than most teams, and they've lost close ones to the Bengals previously, like perhaps the AFC Championship game. Whatever. Okay, Andy Reid says he doesn't think the Chiefs and the Bengals doesn't think the Bengals are a bad matchup for the Chiefs. There's the news. Seems like they might be from some recent history. Andy Reid says they're not. Okay, all right, fair enough. Last one here from Andy Reid on the Chiefs' young defensive backs versus Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, sure. I think they did a good job. They competed, and they're going to be better for that. This game right here, they'll be better for it. They can learn from this, and it's very important that we do that as a team and for those young guys.
I agree with that. I mean, I do think this is going to be a learning experience for the Chiefs' young corners. I do think they'll be better for it. I don't think the Chiefs would have been better if they would have signed J.C. Jackson this offseason. I liked it at the time, but then he didn't play very good football before getting hurt. I mean, I have my doubt, or had my doubts, I guess, about the cornerback strategy over the years for the Chiefs, but they continually found good corners later in the draft. They trade up and get Trent McDuffie to invest in the position there. Couple of them lost some matchups today against really good pass catchers. That does not bother me nearly as much as the veterans who are in their rematches with this team. That frustrates me a lot more than some young corners having some good plays and some bad ones. Trent McDuffie, not a good physical matchup for a guy like Jamar Chase. Made a couple of really good plays, forcing him out of bounds instead of making a circus catch. I've got no beef with Andy Reid on that one. And I also don't expect him to tell us the entirety of what the meetings are going to be about this week. But I will say that the press conference tidbits after a game like this one are often frustrating because I don't feel like we've learned much from those. Even though, again, not Andy Reid's job to give us the best post-game soundbite possible. I am at the very minimum just deeply unsatisfied with the decision to kick that field goal 55 yards out late in the game with 3.5 minutes left, and your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. Just as I was deeply unsatisfied by the decision to kick the field goal way back at the beginning of the game to put 3 points on the board instead of taking a shot of 4th and 4 from the 8-yard line. They were already down by a touchdown. Kicked the field goal to make it a 4-point game. They stalled out in the red zone down there. And if you run the ball a few times, you get another chance to maybe shorten your field. I just generally, not always, but generally don't think Andy Reid always puts the Chiefs in the best position on 4th down scenarios or end of game scenarios. And when one of the most questionable parts of your coaching is the in-game management stuff that we can all see in front of us, that's a frustrating thing to not get right, because there are lesser coaches handling those decisions better than the Chiefs do. I don't need to spend any time talking about the finer points of Nathaniel Hackett's game management, because we know that everything there is a nightmare. Andy Reid is a Hall of Fame football coach, obviously, and is in the top percentile on all sorts of things as a head coach. I am left unsatisfied by some of the in-game decisions, like that one. That post-game he didn't seem to regret any of the mistakes or whatever there. And I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I'm not surprised. I'm just left wanting here as the Chiefs fall short to the Bengals. We will hear from Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the break. Then we'll talk to our friend Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. That's what's coming around the corner here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. It's all brought to you by CBD American Shaman. If you can feel your blood pressure rising as I continue to have my blood pressure rise live for you on the show, may I suggest our friends at CBD American Shaman? You guys maybe want a little topical cream, or maybe you want a little full body relaxation. Well, no matter what you're looking for, go check it out at CBD American Shaman. And got some good news for your Monday, even after a loss. Because when Kansas City scores, win or lose, you score big at your local CBD American Shaman. Our team's score is your % off. They scored 24 points, so you get 24% off all day tomorrow on orders of $100 or more. That's at CBD American Shaman, because life is better with the feather. Life's also better with Patrick Mahomes, even after a loss. We'll hear from the Chiefs quarterback next.
You're listening to exclusive post-game coverage on Kansas City's home for the NFL. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Brought to you by Casey's own CBD American Shaman. Come on into your local Shaman store for a free sample of stress-sacking CBD. Everything is better with the feather.
Hey, Kansas City, this is Jack Johnson from ESPN Kansas City. With any dream, the wind won't always be at your back, the sun won't always be shining, and some rain is going to fall. American Family Insurance is like a good, solid roof that you can trust to protect your biggest dreams. With plans that could save you up to 23% when you bundle your home and auto, all so you can continue to dream fearlessly, no matter what comes your way. Visit Kim Howard and Associates Agency at 105th and Metcalf in Overland Park. Or give Kim and her team a call at 913-649-2002. That is 913-649-2002 for a quote on your home and auto insurance today.
Frank Bowl here from my friends at CBD American Shaman. You've heard me talk about my experience with CBD products. If you struggle with pain, anxiety, sleep, or lack of energy, visit your local CBD American Shaman about the benefits of high-quality hemp oil. And if Kansas City scores big, you score big discounts. Kansas City puts up 30, it's 30% off. 50% off your order of $100 or more the day after the game. Only at CBD American Shaman. Life is better with a feather.
Hi, I'm Fred Ramsey. And I'm Mark Tobin. Hey, folks, if you're not busy Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m., well, I hope you'll join us for the Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet St. Joe.
Join us and our expert guests, and we'll be talking about hunting and fishing, dog training. We'll give you tips, pass along stories, and most important, share some laughs along the way.
That's right. We cover it all, from crappie to waterfowl, and we'll tell you how to cook it, too.
The Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hi there, I'm your host, Dog, filling in for the human who's normally here and bringing you the smells and sounds of the holidays, courtesy of Beggin' Dog Treats.
We wish you a beggin' Christmas. We wish you a beggin' Christmas. Dog rest ye merry Doberman, let beggin' you acquire. Deck the halls with strips of beggin'. Arf, 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 arf.
Remember, for bacon-loving dog excitement this holiday, it's Beggin'!
Looking for fun and exciting gifts this holiday season? Sandlot Goods, KC's only hat manufacturer, has you covered. With a variety of hats, apparel, drink sweaters, and pinnets, you can shop local, high-quality bundles for your friends and family at sandlotgoods.com and all made in KC marketplaces.
Did you know that Masterforce has thousands of tools at Menards? Any tool you want, we have. There are hammers, drills, pliers, levels, wrenches, grinders, sanders, air compressors, nailers, workbenches, mowers, blowers, chainsaws, floor jacks, knee pads, work lights, fans. Whew. And that's just a taste. Want power, performance, durability? Come check out the wide range of products from Masterforce, exclusively at Menards.
In the pursuit of our passions, there's no finish line. For those who chase new adventures, bigger goals, unforgettable moments, once-in-a-lifetime trophies, Bushnell innovates the widest range of products for you. Because just like you, we are built for the pursuit.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Hall of Famer and all-time leading rusher with exciting news.
Football legend Emmitt Smith talking about all new regenerative treatments for joint pain from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics.
But did you know that you can encourage your body to actually heal itself with the help of QC Kinetics?
QC Kinetics uses biologic therapies that are natural, restorative, and long-lasting.
The body is an amazing thing. Trust me, I put mine through a lot.
Exciting new relief is here for pain from arthritis, knee pain, lower back pain, pain in your hips and shoulders.
I'm that guy. When you Google shoulder pain, my face pops up.
But you don't have to be sidelined by pain anymore. Call QC Kinetics to learn more about biologic therapies.
Don't let your joint pain keep you from doing the things you love. There's a new natural solution that patients are raving about.
QC Kinetics.
Let QC Kinetics help you improve your quality of life.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
Mahomes completes it. McKinnon for the touchdown.
Short, sweet. Derrick McKinnon had a nice game, and that is our play of the game, brought to you by Central Bank. For more, visit them online at centralbank.net. I do think Isaiah Pacheco and Derrick McKinnon are pretty close to the most blameless members of the Chiefs today. As everybody, as is typically the case, everybody's got a hand in a win, everybody's got a hand in a loss, but as the Chiefs had some performances that were pretty good, they also had a lot of performances that weren't good enough, and that becomes the issue in a team sport like football. They fall to the Bengals 27-24, 3 consecutive wins for the Bengals over the Chiefs. That's going to be a narrative they're going to have to try to beat and break at some point these upcoming playoffs, next regular season, whenever they match up again. The Bengals, I said this on The Zone this week. When we talk about trash talk, it's usually, your mom is so fat that they decided that our solar system has 9 planets again. That's basically the evolution of trash talk that I mastered and didn't get much further than. But the most devastating form of trash talk, certainly in sports, and I think really in the world, not always this literal, but the most devastating trash talk I think you can legitimately deliver is to just point and say, scoreboard. Because that might mean, hey, you can talk. All you want to talk, you can talk as much as you want. But when it's all said and done, and when we went out there to try to prove it, look at what happened. We got you. That's hard trash talk to come back from. All you can really do is wait for the next time to change the score. And the Bengals right now, it's not just that it says 27-24. It says 3-0. And if the Chiefs and Bengals were playing again next week, would I pick the Chiefs again? Probably so. But I can't sit here and tell you that the Chiefs beat them any of the last 3 matchups, because they didn't. That's when the process is really important for how you evaluate how things went. But the end result is what they give out the trophies for, the playoff seeding for. So the Bengals have that one. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes here. Actually, let's go ahead and just do it right now. We'll get Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest shortly. Also, Beards, I do want to go back to that Twitch comment at some point. But let's go ahead and knock out the Patrick Mahomes press conference and hear what the quarterback had to say about what had to be a really frustrating game. As always, Patrick Mahomes press conference is brought to you by Xfinity.
Patrick Mahomes press conference brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity Internet. Stay connected with Wi-Fi coverage that delivers the speed, reliability, and coverage you need. Can your internet do that?
We start with Mahomes on that last drive where the Chiefs did not go for it on fourth down. Obviously, Mahomes took that sack right before that moved them back a few more yards. Wasn't good for the kick or for the attempt to go for it on fourth down. But anyway, Mahomes was asked about not going for that last fourth down, instead attempting the 55-yard field goal, and if he tries to persuade Andy Reid in moments like that.
Yeah, I'm ready for whatever coach decides. If we want to kick the field goal, I believe we have one of the best kickers in the league. So I'm going to give him the chance to kick the field goal. And if coach wants to go for it, I believe that we can make it happen as an offense. So whatever coach decides, I know he's been in these moments before. I'm going to trust in that. And we went with the field goal, and it didn't go our way this time.
Did you try to do any persuasion or anything in that moment?
The persuasion is just I just out there and just hope that he calls it. Get the fourth down chance, but we had gone through a lot of fourth downs throughout the game, and they were doing a good job. Even we had hard fought ones, but we were converting them. But we have one. We paid Bucker, and we have one of the best kickers in the league. So we trust in him in those moments, and he's made a lot of big kicks. So this one didn't go our way, but if we're in that moment again, I trust he'll make it.
God, he sounds bummed, which I get, because I probably do too. But do you try to persuade him? I just kind of stood out there and hoped he'd call a play. I think everything Mahomes said there is genuine. I think he just, on fourth and anything, he typically wants to go for it because he's him and he can control the thing as much as he can as the quarterback. And I believe that he's not fuming that they kicked it there. But it's got to be frustrating. I'm frustrated, so it's at least frustrating to one of us. Next from Mahomes, the Travis Kelce fumble, a rare sight to see at this point in Travis Kelce's career. They stripped it out as he was going to the ground. Fought for extra yards for a little bit, but really by the time the ball was stripped, it was while Kelce, I believe, had pretty much gone limp at that point, just trying to get to the ground. A strange, frustrating play. Here's what Mahomes had to say about that Kelce fumble and what it was like after the play.
Yeah, I just tell him to continue to be himself. We've seen Travis do that many of times and get all those extra yards, which are hard-fought yards in this league. And obviously they made a good play. They stripped the ball out right at the very end there. But I'm taking Travis fighting for extra yards every single time because that's the type of competitor that he is.
Did you have to pick him up at all, did you feel like, or you knew he'd be?
No, I didn't. I just tried to get the ball to him as quickly as possible after that. So we trust in him, man. He's a competitor. He's the reason that we're playing. We play in these big games like this. And so he's going to go down fighting. So we're going to keep giving him chances to make plays.
Yeah, nothing else to add to that. It's frustrating, and it is Kelce's part of very few guys having a blameless game, but if anybody within the sound of my voice thought, you know what, maybe the Chiefs should go to Travis Kelce less often, I've got some really fascinating things for you to watch, like the last many years of Kansas City Chiefs football. Frustrating for that to happen. A good play by a defense that got the better of the best tight end in football. That one, I think, is, unfortunately, relatively simple. Next from Mahomes here on Joe Burrow, the Bengals, and the success they've had over these last couple of years against the Chiefs.
Yeah, first off, they got a great quarterback, a guy that's won a lot of football games, even though if it was in college. He's won a lot of football games now in the NFL. He's someone that competes at the very end, too. They got playmakers all over there. They're well coached, have a good defense. And at the end of the day, they've executed at a higher level in the critical situations. And so we started off slow. We got back in the game in the flow of things, and then we had a turnover late, and then the missed kick. So if you just try to take away those two things in the fourth quarter, if you're playing good teams, you make those turnover on downs, basically, in the fourth quarter. Those are the things that kind of bite you at the end.
You've been successful throughout your career against good teams. What is it that they do on the defensive side that's so much good?
Yeah, they just have a well put together team. I mean, you saw the offense, even though it's kind of like has the playmakers, but they'll take their time and kind of utilize the clock. Their defense does a lot of different. They change up a lot of different coverages. They do a good job. They try to take Travis away as best as possible. That's why you saw other guys making catches. And I mean, I feel like we executed at a high level, except for the 1 3-and-out drive. But it wasn't high enough because we didn't win. So we just got to go back, look at the film, and just try to get better from this game.
I already said that if they played again next week, I think I'd go ahead and take the Chiefs again. So, grain of salt. But it just the answers in this press conference are predominantly, we got beat by the better team. I mean, they just were better and beat us, which is so deeply unsatisfying if you're a Chiefs fan. Like, oh yeah, they just executed better, had great game plans, really did a lot of things, did them all pretty well, and we did a lot of things pretty well, but they did them better, and so we lost. Like in some way, that is more frustrating than the Colts loss. In some ways, it's much more. That's the most frustrating thing of all time. But in some ways, this game and these post-game quotes are the most frustrating post-game quotes we've heard from the Chiefs this year. If you are of the mind that the Chiefs shouldn't be able to lose to the Bengals by just getting out executed, and maybe that's the narrative that has to be let go here, is that if the Chiefs and Bengals both play their best football, that the Bengals do just win sometimes. But really, I thought the Bengals played really good football, and the Chiefs played okay. And maybe that's it. It's the field goal and the turnover. I would at least add in that it's fourth down, unforced errors, and the turnover. And still, the Bengals would have had the ball back at the end with a chance to win it. It is none of it's very satisfying, and that's where you are left to just sort of sit there staring at the replays. Here from Mahomes, it wasn't all bad. I'm guessing this is the scramble touchdown, jumping to the end zone, doing the MJ Space Jam dunk to score. He also had the touchdown pass that we played a little bit ago, the touchdown to Jerick McKinnon on that little quick unguardable one. Here's Mahomes on the scores.
Yeah, I mean, they played a good coverage. I was looking at Juju. I didn't think I could get it in there where he would get in the end zone. And it's fourth down, so you have to try to go for it. And I was running, and the only way to get it was going over the top. So I should just try to reach it over and get in the end zone.
Pretty confident you did get the ball over the goal line?
I mean, I knew it was close. Obviously, you don't want to fumble anytime. I know it's fourth down, you're going for it, but you don't want to fumble. So I just tried to reach it across, and the ball came out. And I looked and saw that they kind of had jumped on it, and I looked at the ref, and he had said touchdown. So as confident as you can be when you're kind of flying in the air.
Well said. I mean, as confident as you can be midair, but it was fourth down, so he's got to make a play for the goal line there, and it worked out, and a pretty cool highlight that will ultimately be lost in a game that the Chiefs couldn't do quite as much as they needed to. Last one here from Mahomes. Was this game an improvement from last year's AFC Championship game?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely executed at a higher level than we did in the playoff game. I thought the guys did good. They did a great job of kind of blocking there. They got us that one at the very end. We wish we could have a little bit more time, but at the same time, they had a good game plan, and I thought we executed at a high level at some points in the game. But we got to be, if you're going to be a good football team, you got to execute throughout the entire game.
He's right, and it's frustrating. He's right, and it's not enough. We had a caller earlier mention that they're already pre-annoyed at what the national media narrative is going to be. Chiefs players, Juan Thornhill, Colin Saunders tweeting about hey, why is everybody's turning on us the second we lose? And on some level, I get it. Hey, don't be super duper toxic about a regular season loss. Don't tweet anything outrageously stupid. I say it from my glass house, built of stupid tweets. But part of that is just the price of the territory. it gets nasty when the favorite loses. I'm sure the New England Patriots saw the most heinous things across ESPN and social media over the course, to whatever extent it was existing, over the course of their dynastic run. They still get all of that because people get tired of the same main character. The Chiefs have been the main character of the AFC, and now they're 0-3 against the Joe Burrow Bengals, against the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs in these last 2 seasons.
I saw a stat on Twitter earlier that the Chiefs have not beaten Cincinnati. I don't know if it was in Cincinnati or not, but it was at least since like the 80s.
They definitely have beaten Cincinnati more recently because that was the birth of Sad Fans on Reddit.
True. So I think it might have been in
Cincy. That's funny / kind of cursed.
Ugh.
Well, speaking of funny and kind of cursed, Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest joins us now. You can follow him on Twitter at Matt Derrick. You can read his work at ChiefsDigest.com. Matt, funny, cursed, what was this game in your eyes?
Probably more cursed than funny. I mean, I didn't laugh a lot, but I would probably say that would be different if we were doing the show in Cincinnati. So I think there was a fair amount of laughing over there, especially from a few guys who were talking and chirping this week.
Yeah, so I mean, the vibe of this week leading up to where we ended by the end of the game, it's a weird week. It's a frustrating game for the Chiefs on a variety of levels, I'm sure. I give you perhaps dozens of reasonable opens, but where do you start when you look at what was not enough for the Chiefs in this game?
I mean, I have to go with Andy Reid on this one. I mean, everybody owns a little bit of it.
Yep.
I mean, there wasn't any. I mean, there wasn't anybody I could point to and say, well, that guy didn't do anything wrong and couldn't have done anything better. I mean, everybody has a little bit of piece of this. Even a guy like Carlos Dunlap that had one of the biggest plays of the game. I mean, hey, get a sack or a pressure every once in a while.
Yep.
Maybe this game turns out a little bit differently. This was across the board. I mean, Mahomes makes one play. The offensive line, maybe you block a little better. Get some pass pressure. Break up a play in the defensive secondary. Make a tackle. You can point to a million different things, and in a 3-point loss, every single one of them gets magnified. So, I mean, this was not a perfect game. The Bengals, I think that they deserved to win because they played a better game. They left a few more points on the field even than the Chiefs did. So, by all those standards, I mean, I think the better team won, but I don't think there's a huge difference between these two teams. And if the Chiefs just finally figure a way to clean up the mistakes they make against the Bengals, they're eventually going to get past these guys.
I agree 100%. That's exactly where we opened, actually, so that makes me feel good. The only guys I could think of that maybe didn't deserve at least a little bit of something is Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon. Every time they had the ball in their hands, it seemed like they were doing the right thing. And that's a short list, and I don't know that is actually true. You could probably find me a pass pro rep or something here or there, but I'm with you down the line. Take me into the Chiefs locker room this week. I know we talked about this on Friday on The Zone, but when you see how the game played out, and then you are aware of all of the storylines that popped up over the course of the week, from Justin Reid to just what you saw even on Friday when Lebo told us that it felt like a pre-playoff atmosphere in there on Friday. How do you draw the week to the game?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't necessarily see a loss coming, and I can't even say that this was a flat performance. I mean, I think that the Bengals probably brought their A- game. The Chiefs probably brought their B+ game. I mean, I think that certainly there's room for a better game from both these teams, but I mean, at the same time, it was not a terribly played game. I mean, this was pretty entertaining. I think both sides executed fairly well, and so I can't say that I saw a poor Chiefs performance coming, because this was I thought a focused, confident, prepared group this week. I mean, they know this team. They were taking them seriously. There was no sneaking up on this team this week. They were fully aware of it. If anything, the only mistake I think you could possibly say that they made was Justin Reid probably awakened a little bit of the giant this week that they didn't need to awaken, because I think that was certainly at least a small factor in this game. But this was a team that I thought was pretty well prepared. And now, based on what we saw today, the only thing that I would say that was missing is that I feel like that there were some people on this team that have seen the Bengals before and should have been better prepared. Yeah. And I think that's probably true on both sides of the football, but I think it's probably a little bit more on the defensive side.
Yeah, let's start over there then. Everybody who spoke it was the the multiple seconds of Nick Bolton's press conference that we had, to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Everybody is, I don't know if Mahomes actually talked about the tackling. That might not be true. But Reid and Bolton certainly both acknowledged the tackling in this game was not good enough, as did every single caller we've had and everyone who watched this game. Tackling, pass rush, coverage, running game, passing game. Point to the problems defensively for me. Or maybe if it's easier, tell me where the problems weren't on the Chiefs defense today.
I'm not sure. That's a good question, because I think there were problems everywhere. I mean, and it wasn't terrible.
Right.
Because, I mean, you look at it and you could say, hey, the Chiefs didn't get any sacks, so therefore there was no pressure on Joe Burrow. No, because Joe Burrow was running for his life most of the day. So, and when he did, I mean, when he was taking off, it was because there was pressure. So there was some pressure that, once again, the Chiefs just can't figure out how to get the guy down on the ground. And they did a worse job today than I would say that they certainly did even back in January of at least getting some hands on him. Today, there wasn't like any of the near sacks that they had. This was just pretty good cases of Joe Burrow escaping and getting away and making some things happen. So to me, was the pass rush good compared to what they have been of late? No, it was not. I mean, they didn't get anything that they really wanted accomplished. Even when, they were blitzing, they weren't getting any pressure. And this against the Bengals team that gives up a lot of sacks.
Yep.
So, that was the concern for me with this pass rush the last few weeks, is that they showed some improvement. It was a question of, hey, was this just good matchups against the teams that they were facing, or was this actually turning the corner? I needed to see them this week to show that they turned the corner, because I think at this point now we're going to go back and retrospectively look at it and say, hey, you know what? Maybe the last few weeks have just been some good matchups and they've been playing better, but it's still not a consistent pass rush.
We had a caller earlier, shout out to Logan, making the point that not only was the pass rush a problem, but it is specifically the thing the Bengals aren't good at. Like, it is something that other teams have been able to take advantage of. And I'm like, I feel like I'm a top 5 Chris Jones truther in a positive sense. I do not like the idea of trying to improve this pass rush this offseason by first moving Chris Jones out of Kansas City. That feels backwards to me. I can point, to a bunch of those other guys that we've already talked about plenty this show. Or just the unit as a whole, where the pass rush is a team sport, right? But it is so deeply frustrating and legitimately confusing, Matt, because this pass rush hasn't been like totally limp this whole season. They have made improvements. Chris Jones in particular has been a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Why the Bengals? Why against Cincinnati is this the time that they just largely disappear? Or at least don't do enough to finish. Because you're right. It's not like it was they were never bothering Joe Burrow, but it wasn't enough.
No, and this, I mean, I'd like to see and hear more about what the Bengals actually, what their game plan was today. Because looking at it first glance, my thought is that their game plan was, we're going to do everything that we possibly can to make sure that Chris Jones doesn't do anything. And if anybody else can win some one-on-one matchups, so be it. They just absolutely went after Chris Jones and tried to do everything possible, in creative ways to just try to get a hat on him, to hit him, even on run plays, to kind of take him out of things. I mean, to me, it looked like their offensive line had one goal, and that was just simply beat up Chris Jones. And like I said, it was going to be one-on-one matchups for everybody else. If they were going to win them, so be it. But nobody else was winning them. And hey, maybe that's Frank Clark is sick, and that's a part of the problem. What's everybody else's problem? Hey, George Karlaftis gets a sack, so give him credit for that one. But again, I mean, if you're going to get one-on-one matchups consistently across the board, and you're going to take Chris Jones out of the play, win a matchup.
Yeah.
They just didn't do that today, and that's what, to a degree folds in with the whole, Chiefs defensive problems today, is that they're designed for the pass rush and the secondary to play as one. And when one fails, the other one doesn't have a chance.
Yep.
And I mean, I thought the Chiefs secondary, honestly, I thought they played as well as they could.
I did too.
Especially for 3 rookies going up against the Bengals offense, weapons that they have and the receiving group that they have. I mean, I thought they did really well. I mean, sure, Joshua Williams had a rough day. They targeted him a lot. Trent McDuffie, I thought, did a really good job. But the most impressive thing about all the rookies, all the young guys in the Chiefs secondary, is that I just think they stood up to the Bengals, and they didn't back down. They didn't play scared. That's going to pay off, and that's going to help them off down the road.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I being mad at the rookies in the secondary just feels like the last thing on my to-do list here, because as you said, the Chiefs have told you that they are building front to back defensively. Even when they spent money on Tyrann Mathieu and money on Justin Reid, we know how they've been largely spending on the cornerback group, which is not very much. They do for McDuffie, that's something, but it was trading up the draft for Elan Speaks. It was trading for and paying Frank Clark. And now it's drafting George Karlaftis after paying Chris Jones to try to get a second guy there. I just feel like we are once again going to go into our third offseason saying, man, if the Chiefs could just get a second pass rusher, this defense could really take another step. And now I feel like I've just time traveled to April, and we're trying to figure out if the Chiefs should draft a safety or an edge in the draft.
Well, and that's probably where the reality is. That's where we are. I still say, let's say what's going to happen at the end of the season. George Karlaftis is a young guy, and hey, it's 2 sacks in 2 weeks. That's a good trend. If he keeps that up and he keeps improving in the latter half of the season, and now you're looking back on it, you're saying, hey, George Karlaftis finished the year with 6 sacks. Maybe that's something he can build on next year. You're feeling a lot different than maybe you are right now. So I think there's a little ways to go. There are going to be some changes, certainly. There's no doubt. I think it's pretty abundantly clear that you're going to be going into an off season as a Chiefs fan saying, hey, yeah, we need another pass rusher. But I also think that's probably something that 90% of NFL teams say every off season. You just can't have enough of those guys.
No, that's fair. And so let's take it to the other side, and then we'll get you out of here. But offensively, Mahomes said he thought they executed at a pretty high level, and there weren't a ton of possessions in this game. So a 27-24 final score is, I think, 18. It was 8 possessions for both teams, counting the real short one the Chiefs had at the end of the first half. That's by my math. So grain of salt and whatnot. But offensively, if we're talking about, the draft going defensive in next year again, or the free agent spending going defensive again next year, are there legitimate concerns with the offense, or is this a unit that looks fundamentally different with McCole Hardman or Kadarius Toney if you're waiting on them? What did you make of the offensive performance and where they fell short today?
Well, and I think the easiest one to point to is to say, hey, the pass protection was not great today. Mm-hmm. And I think you can make a pretty solid case for that. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're going to say that, you probably also have to acknowledge that Isaiah Pacheco and Derrick McKinnon don't have the days that they had if the run blocking wasn't pretty good.
Yep.
So, hey, it's grain of salt here, grain of salt there. There's a lot of different ways I think you could look at this game. Yes, you would absolutely love for there to be a little bit better pass protection. And, hey, if you're looking towards the off season, sure, you're probably talking about the outside because the Chiefs feel pretty good about their interior. There's nothing that right there you're talking about upgrading, but, and you're going to get Joe Thuney back, so things will be different there too. The only thing you could probably say for this is that, hey, you want more out of Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think that Patrick Mahomes played a bad game. I think he played pretty well. There's a decision or two I think he would love to have back.
Yep.
And again, it goes back to how much do you want Patrick Mahomes to just consistently be looking downfield? Because, one of the ways that you talked about needing to be able to beat the Bengals is taking what you're being given. And hey, I can't fault some of the deep balls because, hey, a couple of those throws, the Valdez-Scantling, really paid off. MVS had a couple of big catches, and those were big for the Chiefs. But talk about just taking what you're being given. That last offensive stand, Derrick McKinnon was wide open in the flat for a first down, and that happened a couple of times. And I get it. Patrick Mahomes is the MVP, so I'm not going to fault him too much for looking downfield. But you know what? When you're facing a team like the Bengals and you can't be making any mistakes and you can't be leaving points on the field, sometimes you got to take what's there. And that's the only area that I think you could really fault Mahomes is just that, once again, sometimes you just have to take what's there.
That particular play is my at least number one reason that Mahomes doesn't have a clean sheet, because that one, I think he must have seen him. In real time, I thought he was going to check it to McKinnon because he eventually got his head around, and it was right there. And that one's frustrating, and I'm sure it's half as frustrating to me as it is to him right now. So here's my one more sort of big picture one for you, Matt. I'm not like fishing for a specific answer because I think there's a crowd pleaser one, but I'm not sure if it's accurate. If the Chiefs and Bengals played again next week, or if you want to say they meet in the first round of the playoffs, what do you think happens? And maybe most importantly, did anything that you think would happen in the rematch, did anything change from what you saw today? Because frankly, I'm going to just show you my hand so you know where I'm coming from. I'd probably pick the Chiefs again, but I would definitely do it with a little more specificity, I think, about what the Chiefs need to do in a rematch. And frankly, I thought they'd play good football and the Bengals would play okay football and that they'd win this game. Obviously, that's not exactly what happened. And maybe I have earned a little more respect for the Bengals because they did it in a way that did not feel in any way fluky to me, perhaps. I'm unpacking it for myself, but what would you be saying about a rematch around the corner?
Yeah, and I've been thinking about it in those terms as well because I feel kind of the same way. I mean, I don't think it was a fluke. I have a lot more respect now for the Bengals than I did probably before. I felt like I was giving them an appropriate amount of credit, although I admit that I still had questions about a lot of the close wins that they get and just, how they do things consistently. And I can feel pretty good that you see that when it comes to big games that they come through. I mean, we're not supposed to use the word, but they play clutch football. But, I saw some of the talk online about how this isn't a rivalry because the Bengals win all the time. Well, it's 3 straight games with a 3-point win and games that were competitive to the very end. I mean, in both these games, both teams have now had double-digit leads that they've given away. I mean, these two teams over the last 12 quarters are 9 points apart. That's not a bashing. I mean, these are two teams that are incredibly evenly balanced. And when you factor in that 2 of these games have been in Cincinnati, I mean, you'd expect them to win. I mean, these are 2 evenly balanced teams. So really, you're only talking about the one game in Kansas City that went to overtime being the separation between these two teams. I think that the Bengals have proven that they're on that level with the Chiefs. And yeah, I mean, if they're playing again tomorrow and the game was in Cincinnati, I'd say the Bengals were going to win because they've earned it. They've done it. If they were playing tomorrow in Arrowhead, I'm loosey with the football. I'm taking the Chiefs. I mean, I think eventually they're going to win these games because they're a really good team too. And it's not like if these teams played 100 games that the Bengals are going to win 90 of them. It's probably going to be 50-50.
Matt, tell us what's about to come up on ChiefsDigest.com from this game for people's reading pleasure later on.
Trying to just pick anything out of this game that we can find to make sense, and you know what? I'll admit I'm still working on it.
Yeah, you and me both. I've been live doing it out loud in front of what I can only assume is a listening crowd of millions. So if you get that figured out before the end of the show, just shoot me a text and tell me what explains it all.
I will do, my friend. Take care.
Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest, really looking for kind of a 42 sort of answer for this one. Not sure that there's going to be a numeral that connects all of the dots, but that's what we're here to do, and that's what he's there to do at ChiefsDigest.com. So check him out there as well. We'll take a quick time out here on Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. I am Joshua Brisco. Beards McFly on the other side of the glass. Dylan Michaels doing a lot of production for us around here as well. Also Dylan, who made me aware of something on Twitter that I will tell you about. Patrick Mahomes, his likes on Twitter include one that took place after the game today. It's actually a tweet, Beards, I believe you sent me earlier on from Cameron Wolf tweeting this, saying Bengals cornerback Mike Hilton on Chiefs. Quote, they did a lot of talking all week, but we're 3-0 in the same year against them. I got a lot I can say, but 3-0 in the same calendar year tells the story. We'll probably see them again in the playoffs, and they know they got to play us. It's a tweet that Patrick Mahomes has liked on Twitter. Don't think he's shying away from the rematch, certainly. But seeing now that the Bengals are talking as victors 3 times in a row, they've certainly earned the right to do that. The Chiefs certainly noticing. Again, the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show is brought to you by TVH. TVH is now hiring and looking for dog lovers, football fans, hikers, bikers, barbecue lovers, and anyone who happens to be interested in a great place to work. You can learn more at tvhjobs.com. Check them out right now and see what they could do for you, what you could do for them, what that relationship could be. Learn more again at tvhjobs.com. We'll take a break, come back, and hear from Zach Taylor, get a few more final thoughts. There's a Twitch comment I want to read that helps usher in a very specific part of the holiday season. A lot more to break down as we continue on here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You're listening to exclusive post-game coverage on Kansas City's home for the NFL, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Brought to you by Casey's own CBD American Shaman. Come on into your local shaman store for a free sample of stress-sacking CBD. Everything is better with the feather.
Hey guys, as the male body ages, testosterone levels steadily decline, but you don't have to accept that. Regain Functional Medicine will help you get your life back with testosterone replacement therapy, just like it did for me. TRT improved my heart and brain function. It helped me sleep better and perform better and even look better. I feel so much better, and you will too with Regain. Visit ifeelmuchbetter.com. Regain Functional Medicine has 2 locations in Leawood and Lawrence. Regain is better.
Kick off the holiday season with gifts, giving, and good cheer at Merry Market. Find unique gifts for everyone on your list from more than 75 outstanding artisans and makers. Enjoy festive shopping, activities, food, and drink every weekend between Thanksgiving and Christmas at City Market. Admission is free, and all ages are welcome. Grab a cold Boulevard libation and start the holiday season off right with the Merry Market in the historic City Market. You must be 21 years old with a valid ID to purchase alcoholic beverages, with a portion of the proceeds benefiting local charities.
Unlock big savings at Menards during the Home Improvement Sale. Add style and security with Schlag lock sets. Coordinate the look of your home's decor with complementing finishes and styles. Menards carries over 50 styles of interior and exterior lock sets. And with Schlag's wide selection of smart locks and keyless entry locks, there's no more hiding keys under the doormat or losing track of copies. Save big on Schlag lock sets at Menards. Plus, a Menards gift card always makes for a great gift idea.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you 24/7, with supplies and solutions for every industry, and access to product specialists ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey Kansas City, Stephen St. John here. You've heard me talk about my friends at Polymagic and their awesome floor coatings, but did you know they also do concrete lifting, leveling, void fills, and crack repairs to your driveway, garage, patio, porch, sidewalks, and even pool areas? This could be the right time to invest in your home to gain equity and resale value for the future. Give Tom and Vince a call and ask for the SSJ special up to $500 off your project. 816-765-4800 or visit them at polymagic.net.
Sports Radio 810 is proud to be Kansas City's home for the National Football League.
Allen will throw it into a crowd, knocked around and intercepted. It's picked off by Fenton.
Metcalf open, makes the catch at the 15, into the end zone, touchdown Seattle.
From Monday night to Sunday night and every game in between, keep it right here on your exclusive home for the NFL, the NFL playoffs, and the Super Bowl. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
First and goal. Backpedaling, man wide open at the 5, and that's a touchdown for Chris Evans, who's barely seen the field, and comes in and scores the go-ahead touchdown.
No, not the superhero Chris Evans, although not sure he would have scored there. That Chris Evans certainly did, and that was what the Bengals needed to take the lead, and they never gave it back. This is the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show. I'm Joshua Brisco, Beards McFly on the other side of the glass. Dylan Michaels, the assist on production as well. It's all brought to you by our friends at Greengrass Cattle Company. They're off the highway, Weston, Missouri, off 45 highway, less than a mile from their ranch in Weston. We had a chance to go visit them out there a while back towards the beginning of the season. Had a great time feeding the cattle. Getting to see their whole production down there, and really all the process and all the incredible care that goes into the way they treat the cattle there at Green Grass Cattle Company. Gives them the best quality of environment and overall existence out there in Weston, and then it also creates the best beef for you. They've got the best practices. Their premium Black Angus cattle means the best feed, clean water, and a low-stress environment to make sure you have the best-tasting beef in town. So thanks again to Green Grass Cattle Company for being a part of the show, and thanks for being a part of, really, my diet. Not in the lose-weight diet sense, but in the, oh, yum, incredible beef sense. If you'd like to get in on that, you can visit them online at greengrasscattleco.com or at their store in Weston, Missouri. Let's hear from the Bengals side of things as well. The Cowboys and Colts right now are not quite yet to the end of halftime, so they're currently in the half. We'll bring you the second half of Sunday Night Football here on your home for the NFL, Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Cowboys are up 21-13 right now. By no means a blowout, though. This game's gone back and forth from what I've been able to keep an eye on. An interesting primetime game between Dak Prescott's Cowboys and Matt Ryan back as the starter for Jeff Saturday's Colts. Interesting, and we'll bring you the second half momentarily here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. But first, we begin with Zach Taylor of the Cincinnati Bengals, the opposing head coach, as the opposing head coach press conference is always brought to you by Metcalf CarStar.
Brought to you by Metcalf CarStar. If your vehicle gets sacked on the road, take it to Metcalf CarStar, the collision repair experts. They make it convenient and easy to get back on the road. Go to carstar.com and search Metcalf CarStar. CarStar. Relax. They'll take it from here.
Nobody has had the Chiefs number quite like the Bengals have over these last 2 years. Here's the Bengals head coach, again, Zach Taylor, telling us what exactly it was that turned this game into a victory for Cincinnati.
All right, fire away.
What's going through your mind right now after that one?
Good win, but this team is so confident right now. This is what we visualized the entire week. I know a lot's made because they're a tremendous football team. We got a lot of respect for them. We're a tremendous football team as well. And this team's playing as well as I hoped we'd be playing right here in early December. But like I told our guys, that we didn't win a division championship today. We didn't win a conference championship. We just won a game in early December. And we still got a long ways to go. And we got Cleveland coming in our house next week. And we want to keep the momentum rolling. So I think we've got the right mindset right now to handle this victory and be ready to move on next week to Cleveland.
Zach, the rivalry is defined by two great quarterbacks. But Jermaine Pratt makes that play, and then Joseph Asai trips up Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Well, the Jermaine play, that's just what Jermaine's all about. If there's a guy who's scratching and clawing to get turnovers, just like he won us the game against Minnesota last year in week 1, doing the same thing, finding a way, sticking with it. That's what we appreciate about Jermaine. Jermaine's playing some outstanding football right now. That's not shocking. And for Joseph Osai, the hustle play of the century right there, I mean, he was on the ground, got up, chasing back down, I think, and found a way to get that stop leading to the missed field goal. And so that was two great plays by those two guys.
What do you make of Joe Burrow's performance today?
Awesome, but you got to start with the offensive line first. They gave him a lot of time to be able to get a chance to find those guys open and make the plays with his feet, with his arm. But I thought our offensive line played their tails off, man. That's a really good front. They did a good job holding them at bay. They did a great job getting us started in the run game. And Joe does what Joe does. He had about 25 or 31 or 32, whatever it was. And just when we need somebody to step up, Joe's the guy that does it.
You feel like he's playing at like an MVP caliber level?
Absolutely. He's playing at the level we need for him to lead us to be confident that we can go win every game we play. So whatever those conversations are like, there's no doubt. I've said it before, I wouldn't trade him for anybody in the world.
What's your reaction to Jamar's performance after 4 weeks missing? Some of the things he did physically, leaping over guys.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to
He obviously is feeling pretty good, I would imagine. You'd have to ask him that. But that's really what we saw in practice. Since he's gotten back, I've kind of been surprised at how he looks the same as when he left. I even felt that at some reps last week, just watching him do routes on air before the Tennessee game. I knew the wise thing to do was communicate with him and keep him out. But watching him move, I'm like, oh, man, if he comes to me and says, I'm definitely playing this game, I might have a couple plays ready for him. But he's just a freak.
When this offensive line was put together in March,
Sure. Yep. Giving him time to do what he does and get us going in the run game as well. They're just so smart. It's, the group they're tough, they're smart, and they love football. And those are the three things I think you want to describe your offensive lineman as, is smart, tough, and eat, sleep, and breathe football, and that's what we got.
How perfect did you think that play Joseph Osai sack there on third down was for the whole outcome of the game?
It was big.
From your vantage point, like what do you feel like this game came down to for you guys?
Well, it's a 3-point game, and if Patrick scrambles for that first down, just never know, because they're always one play away. I got a ton of confidence in our defense, but let's be real. The Chiefs he's a great player. They're one play away, and you don't know how much time's going to left on the clock. Maybe when they do kick a field goal, if that were to happen after that. So great play by them, and then I can't even remember what the other part of the question was, if there was something else.
What did you feel like, from your vantage point on the sideline, I know you'll go through the film, but what did you feel like this game came down to at the end of it?
Our guys just made plays, and that's we just told our guys, cut it loose. There's no fear of failure in this building. We want to go be aggressive, go make plays. This is the type of game you want to do that. Our guys are so poised, so confident, and I think what we're asking them to do and just their abilities, they're able to play fast and go make the plays that we need to win a game like this.
Coach, did they do anything that?
Go ahead, Jeff. I'll get you next ball.
Okay. Did they do anything to make it a P. Ryan game? Did they kind of dare you to use them or?
No, they do a great job. We knew we were going to have to mix in some of those gun runs and under center runs, and he grinded out some really good runs for us. It was well blocked. Thought our tight ends did a good job too in the run game, and Joe has some decisions to make. It's Joe Burrow in the run game also, and he was decisive and gave us some good opportunities there to get those runs off the ground. Go ahead, Paul.
For the 3rd and 11 play, you guys a lot of time to talk about what you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of different directions you could have gone.
Yeah.
What was the choice in that play, and then putting the ball in Burrow's hands to try to
Well,
hurt a 3rd and 11 there?
Yeah, there you go. So that's really what it comes down to is giving ourselves an opportunity there. I think we changed the play call probably 3 times. And ultimately, that's as simple as a play as it gets. It's let our outside guys go win a one-on-one slant route. And that's what they did. And, so for T, I don't know how T came down with that ball. That ball, I think, was caught way further inside than I'm used to thinking. But, again, Joe had to hold on to it for a while. So, again, I can't wait to watch that clip on tape and see how they won us that game.
What are some of the other options there that you went away from, and I guess why?
Well, it's just, we were hoping not to go backwards on 2nd down, but it was a tricky spot there for Joe because there's 2:05 left in the 4th quarter, and so you're able to throw the ball as long as he needs to all 5 seconds. So Joe kind of gets put in a tough spot there because he knows we want to eat up all 5 and not give them a bonus timeout. But you also, so you're just mindful there. So he was looking to extend the play, making sure he ate up all 5 seconds, and then they got him. So that's just a situation that can be difficult to manage. Ultimately, he got us, secured the ball, 3rd and 11. We just let our receivers be in a position to go win some one-on-ones, and Joe found the right guy and made it work. Go ahead. I know you have another.
The first 2 scoring drives of the first quarter, you guys went straight down the middle, no sidelines, nothing like that. Did you see something in the Kansas City defense that opened up that middle?
No, I mean we try to make them cover the whole width of the field, and so we had things going on the perimeter that you got to be mindful of, I think, because of the talent we got at receiver. And again, that comes down to when you make a statement like that, you're going down the middle of the field. That's our offensive line. That's Samaje running downhill and making the most of those opportunities there.
On the 3rd and 11, you had
Next, Charlie.
on the 3rd and 11, it looked like you were trying to get Boyd lined up, or it looked like you guys were kind of scrambling.
No, it's. Again, I'm not a mind reader, so it's hard to know when Joe's using this cadence if he's forgotten to send a motion or he's just trying to get a tell on the defense. So there's a little stress and anxiety that comes from me sometimes when I'm not sure exactly if he's – but they were on top of it. They got it, and it worked out. Go ahead, Charlie.
There were moments last year where you spoke about maybe you regret taking the ball out of Burrow's hands in a few moments. How much has – not the math changed.
Can you start over? I'm sorry.
There were moments last year where you spoke about regret about taking the ball out of Burrow's hands in the big moments.
Yeah.
In a big moment in particular.
Yeah.
How much has changed? How much has Burrow shown that even if, maybe the math says run, give Burrow a chance to make a play?
Well, he's always shown us that since this first day of training camp, August 15th or whenever that was a couple years ago. I felt that for him forever. And as the coach, you got to be smart. You know, it's not just because you got this great quarterback. It means you always throw the ball in some situations. You want to let the clock run sometimes and put them in a tough spot. So I thought we found some really good balance there, and I always trust Joe to make the right decision.
Everybody saw what Jamar did with the ball in his hands, but just his return, just his presence, what did that open up for you guys?
Everything, you know, just because now you got, and no disrespect to anybody else, but you got, you know, two of the premier receivers in all football outside with TB in the middle, and so that can stress the defense. They got to pay attention to that. That helps the run game. It really does. You know, when they got to devote a little more coverage over there to Jamar and T, and so that really helps.
There you have it, Zach Taylor, Bengals head coach, as the Chiefs drop their third consecutive matchup with his Cincinnati squad. I'm not going to draw all of the connections, but it's kind of interesting to hear the question about how, you know, Zach, last year you expressed regret post-game a couple times about taking the ball out of your quarterback's hands, while Andy Reid's press conference involved several questions and answers about him trusting Harrison Butker to hit a 55-yard field goal at the end of that game. It's not what it came down to, certainly, but just an interesting juxtaposition, as there are plenty of places you could circle as the main reason that the Chiefs fell 3 points short of Cincinnati. But as we said at the very beginning of the show, our friend Matt Derrick said it just a little bit ago, you could probably assign blame to virtually any member of the Chiefs who you'd like to assign blame to. I think everybody also could get at least a little bit of credit for what did work. The offensive line, a good example of that. The running game altogether, one of the best games in recent history for the Chiefs, at least in terms of, hey, this seems like it's working. So the run blocking did its job. They didn't do a whole lot in terms of giving Patrick Mahomes clean pockets to operate in. On the inverse, the Chiefs pass rush bothered Joe Burrow a handful of times, actually brought him down behind the line of scrimmage just once, very late in that game by George Karlaftis. The pass catchers, the pass rushers, the run stopping, the linebackers, across the board, the Chiefs fall just short. The Cincinnati Bengals are victorious, 27-24. We'll talk about it all day tomorrow across the board here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Me and Beards and Jason Anderson will see you at 10 for The Zone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll talk to you at 10. Till then, bye, Mom.
Do you need a more rewarding job where you